look at that as we come into focus. Hello, good evening, welcome along, welcome to Deadline Day. This feels very bizarre. I don't quite know how to feel because we feel like we're just sitting down to record a podcast, which we are not doing. We are here on Transfer Deadline Day. We are here for the next 3 hours, would you believe, or maybe just maybe slightly more than 3 hours, but we're here nonetheless, and we're here with the boys. I'm here as I always am. Oh, hello. Thank you very much. How are you? I am using that indeed, yes. Wardy's here. Good evening, son. How are we?
Yes, I'm good, mate. It's great to be back. We did this last January and I was going to say it was successful. I guess it was. It was a great laugh, though. We saw in the January window and we thought it would be too big an opportunity to not do it again this time around. Of course, concluding the summer transfer window. So we shall return again, this time with even more special guests. We've got an amazing lineup coming at you. Well, we think it's amazing, so you have to. It's the rule, really. We've also got some amazing people also here. And of course, the rest of the T-Lop gang. Nappers, it's great to have you, mate. We said, Nappers, do you want to join? And you said, I mean, you didn't even have to think about it. You were like, yes, get me on Deadline Day.
Straight in.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad to be on. And, talking to you boys about football just seems a norm these days. And, when we jump on, it's normally a laugh. It's kind of a bit like therapy, isn't it, really? And, when, Portsmouth haven't scored a goal, Fleetwood have lost a game, Oxford might not have, Manning balled everyone. I think there'll be a couple of them during the season if they don't roll away with it. And, if Lincoln have conceded a last-minute goal, away from home. But, again, we come on the podcast and frustrations are gone. And normally we feel a little bit better. So, yeah, glad to be on, talk about Deadline Day. It's going to be an interesting one. I think a lot of team seasons, especially in League One, are going to kind of defy on this next kind of 2 to 3 hours, really.
I was going to say, we have got some of the finest League One voices tonight. Pepe's going to be joining us shortly. We've got Gab Sutton's coming on, Hancock Analysis, obviously Nappers and Jack's here. And someone else who is, in my eyes, a fine League One voice, Mr. Channel 72 himself. Good evening, mate. Welcome along. Thank you for your time this evening. It's nice, isn't it? We're sat here, no colours, which is unusual. But, no Hoovers in sight either, as there was earlier on.
If you're demanding a Hoover,
there we go. Look at that. Bit of domesticated Jake on the channel tonight. How are you, mate? How's your transfer deadline day been?
Quiet, mate. To be honest, and I'm sure some of you, but I think Ben's probably the only one expecting news tonight from the four of us. But no, it's been good, mate. I've been at work all day. Enrolling 16-year-old students, which is just fucking fantastic. If I'm allowed to swear in here in real life.
It's fine, mate. It's too late now, isn't it? You said
I've done it now. Right? Done it now. No.
Can't take it long with it. 4 minutes.
I've got a lollipop, monster lollipop, if you can see that. Ready to go. Should we have it?
Let's have it. His mum's in the chat. Good evening to you. Hello to Brian, who joins us. The Pod Boys are back. Yes, we are. Hello to Sue, who says, hello, my favourite boy band. Hello to you, Sue. Hope you're very well. Jeff says, yo, let's do this, bros. Any Aussie scorers left available? Well, obviously, Cassini Engi out for a relatively long period of time, as I'm sure you know, Jeff. So hopefully that won't be too long. Wardy, I was thinking about maybe telling the gang the plan for the evening. We thought we'd do an opening sort of half-hour T-Lop style chat, and we'll keep it nice and relaxed. We'll keep the language to a minimum if we possibly can before 9 o'clock, if that's okay with JP. So we'll do a bit of T-Lop, then we'll have not half hour on Pompey, but we'll have some of the recognisable Pompey faces come and join us. Pepe's going to be with us shortly, and Reese will be joining us too. We've then got the small matter of Mr. Gab Sutton is coming on to join us from 9 o'clock, which is very exciting. Hancock Analysis is going to be with us from 9:30, so we'll take a deeper dive than we might have already done into Tino and Jordan. Then we've got a League One hour, really, from 10 till 11. We've got Cheltenham fan coming on. We've got a Derby fan. We've got a Barnsley fan. We've got Bristol Rovers fan. Who else have we got? Who have I missed?
Charlton. You say Charlton?
I think I might have said Charlton, but if I didn't, we've got a Charlton fan. Basically, everyone's coming on, and it's going to be literally the place to be if you are a League One fan tonight. So, all good. Now, let's talk about this one, shall we, Nappers? I don't actually think it's going to happen from David Brake. Whether it does tonight or not, whether he goes somewhere tonight or not, That's quite a big story in League One, isn't it? And man like Johnson Clark-Harris on the move.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously they've let a striker go, obviously towards today. I won't pronounce the name just yet, but I'll be working on it for tomorrow, put it that way. And it kind of settles to me that Johnson Clark-Harris is staying at the football club, because why would you letting a striker go? Are they going to bring one in? You know, you never know in football. I still think Johnson Clark-Harris will go for a decent figure in January if he doesn't go now, because he should score somewhat between 10 and 12, maybe even 15 goals before January, depending on his form, really. Obviously, he needs to keep going. And if he doesn't get his move, he needs to, be professional and, make sure, well, you're not getting your move this time, but if you score goals, you'll get your move in January if a reasonable bid comes in. And if not, you score goals to the end of the year, then the choice is yours. So I think Johnson Clark-Harris is in a good place right now. I can't see him moving. I've not been. I thought as soon as he started the season with Peterborough, I thought as it went on, I thought that he won't leave the football club now. I thought if he would have gone, it would have been before the season, because I think that, well, he's starting every week for Peterborough. Why would you start him when you could easily go and bring a player in if you know he's going to go? So obviously there's been a lot of nonsense on Twitter this week, hasn't there, that the Darren McAntony soon addressed that's saying we still owe Bristol Rovers money for the transfer fee. And actually they paid more money than they first thought. They paid over 1.6 million. They put a load of add-ons and the installments are all paid up. So I think since I've read that tweet, I kind of thought, well, I can't see him going to Bristol Rovers, can't see him going to Derby. There's no real club. Blackpool won't spend that amount of money on a player. I think that he'll be a Peterborough player by the end of the window.
Wardy?
I would say as well, I've just read an article, and I think that the Peterborough owner is very, very open on social media and very open. And I think he was on Sky Sports earlier as well, doing interviews with them. He admitted earlier today that Peterborough have rejected bids from Bristol Rovers today. The official quote was, "I'm not going to lie, the Hart Titans are 24 hours to go when things are happening or not. It's something you can't imagine." I think he went on to talk about, I think, FaceTime calls with the Bristol Rovers owner. But that looks like it's a deal that isn't going to happen right now. But like you say, deadline day is a very crazy time in all different ways, in all different directions. But I think as of right now, as of 8 minutes past 8, he does remain a Peterborough player, and things don't seem to be going anywhere too quickly.
We're having a relatively quiet evening from a Pompey point of view, which we'll get into. Jake, I was wondering if you may maybe be able to talk us through some of the standouts in League One in terms of incomings to clubs over the summer. If you had to maybe put your finger on a handful, what would you say would be that? I'm not trying to tee you up to say Regan Poole, by the way. I know he's probably about to, but particularly maybe even since we last spoke on the T-Lop, have there been any that have sort of caught your eye?
Yeah, I think so, actually. And I think, obviously, you mentioned Regan Poole there as probably one of the standout transfers. I think one of the best transfers in the whole window, and this will very much appease Wardy, was way back at the start, was Ruben Rodriguez, choosing Oxford over a wide variety of clubs in the EFL. He's a fantastic player. He's not cut it at the level perhaps before, but I think he's sort of shown in early games for Oxford that he's going to be capable of doing so. I think I mentioned on T-Lop about Bolton. Their window has been fantastic, and do you know what I think? And since they played us, certainly, I think Shrewsbury have added pretty well. Actually, in the last couple of weeks, they've added a couple today in Fleming and Finnegan on loan from Southampton and Hull. They brought in Max Matter from Sligo as well. So I think Shrewsbury are doing a couple of bits as well, but. It's interesting because there's so much movement going up and down the division. Just 5 minutes ago, Reading have signed Don Ballard from Southampton, and he's been scoring for fun in Premier League too. So he could be one that comes good for Reading. So definitely intrigued. Wigan as well. You have to, the Nappers, the Wigan fan next to me, have to give Wigan a bit of a mention. So, I think you could look at 80% of the league and say, you know what, they've done some very good businesses. There's not many clubs that I go, do you know what, that absolutely reeks. I couldn't give you one answer. I've given you 18.
Lovely. There you go. Oh, is it my turn to speak again? Is it? Okay. Can I say hello to Liam, who's Pompey Shop Liam? Thank you for joining us, Liam. Nice to see you, mate. Money for there was a praying cash in stays, and at least if he goes in loan a large fee. Are there any inklings that Cashin's going to be leaving Derby County today? I hadn't seen anything of the
No.
I
sort.
don't think so. I don't think so. It was happening quite early, wasn't it? Brighton was sort of in for any well-performing League One centre-back. I'm pretty sure Stefan Negru of Oxford United was on their list. And then, of course, Cashin has been for quite a while now. They were sort of, going for the classic. And to be fair, you trust Brighton, don't you? You trust Brighton with any transfer they make. So if they've got their eye on a player in League One, then it is clearly doing something right. And those two individuals certainly are. But as a Derby fan just said there, Cashin is a must for Derby to keep hold of. I think when you look at the improvement they've made over the last couple of weeks, Cashin's been at the heart of that. Scored a crucial goal against Peterborough at the weekend. So I look at Cashin and I think you've got to be part of Derby going forward. And we know Brighton are interested. They will sort of spend money on that. But with no loan back clause being the holdback on that situation right now, it doesn't look likely. Nappers has got his hand up like he's at school. Anything on that?
No, going on about well-performing centre-backs, Liam Kitching on to Coventry, another one that's very, very interesting as well.
We heard on the way to, I think, a medical is what we heard.
Yeah, I've just seen that.
From a reliable source over on
it's
our League One.
£5 million.
Wasn't there a £4 million bid turned down yesterday?
Yeah, well, it's looking like it's going to be 5. Now, obviously, Coventry, he is a very good player. I think what's made that £5 million player is Coventry have obviously got money from the Victor Gyökeres and the Gustavo Hamer leaving. And also, he's left-footed as well. So I think when you're left-footed and good on the ball in League One, you add £1 million onto your price because left-footed halves in League One are very hard to come across, believe me. So it's a good deal, but losing Mads Anderson, losing Dorf, and losing Kitchen, you're losing, your core, and that was the reason why, in my opinion, that core got Barnsley into the playoffs last year, went on a good run. So very interesting.
Ben,
Coventry? Sorry, Tom. Coventry got Bobby Thomas as well, who was at Barnsley last year. Pretty sure he's got. And I noticed earlier that obviously Barnsley has signed. Is it Owen Dodgson from Burnley on a season-long loan? That was done earlier today. So maybe that's in hindsight of a move for Kitching.
Which is a couple of today's League One transfers to sort of keep you up to speed. Carl Edwards, of course, has joined Oxford United on loan from Ipswich. Brandon Fleming, who, another one.
Didn't know that.
Another Ipswich player. If we build the entire Ipswich team, then eventually we will go up. Brendan Fleming has joined Shrewsbury on loan from Hull City. Of course, he was in League One last season, the second half of last season with Oxford. Louis Thompson has joined Charlton on loan from Luton Town. Of course, they're still searching for a manager.
Louis Thompson hasn't gone to Charlton, mate.
I'm thinking of the guy. No, that's Louis Watson. Joe Tomlinson.
That's the one.
Has joined MK Dons from Peterborough United. Also interesting as well, Charlie McNeil, the Manchester United youngster, has joined Stevenage on a season-long loan as well. So, again, they're sort of some of the bigger ones. Of course, and the question I'd like to go with Nap as well is, does Tasmanga keep Fleetwood in the league through his goal-scoring ability?
Yeah, and I think obviously Peterborough fans have been quick to criticise. He's played 225 minutes in all competitions for them, since January. I'm like, not being funny, these have been coming on for a minute, 8 minutes. I think the longest he's played, he played 84 minutes. I think he played 84 minutes against Portsmouth the other night, didn't he? But bar that, he's been 45 minutes here, 34 minutes here, a minute there. Played 2 games in League One this year, combined about 5 minutes. It's ridiculous, really. Need to give players time. He is the exact same type of player that Promise Sherry is. Hold up play, big, tall, imposing, can hold it up, can score you a goal, and maybe a little bit, not the greatest of first touches, but he's, as soon as he gets the ball, he smashes it right into the goal. And then Promise, every time he shoots, gets a lot of height and a lot of, power on the ball, really. And I can kind of see him being the type. He scored, 27 goals for Chesterfield, a season and a half ago. So I think he also scored at Stamford Bridge, didn't he, when they lost 6-1 as well? If remember right. It was only a tapping, but to still score at Stamford Bridge. Obviously, we all hear about Daniel, Udo scoring at Anfield. It's just kind of similar situations, really. So, no, I'm happy with the signing. Obviously, when my phone went off when I was at work today, I was kind of expecting a lad on loan from Leeds. That's now not happening. I'm now being told another lad on loan from Leeds, but we shall see. I've sent a couple of text messages out, so hopefully receive something back on that. I'm like, that's what's it called off Sky at this rate.
Fabrizio, mate.
Oh well,
Fleetwood Fabrizio.
Darmesh is the one. I was going to say Nappers is the other guy from Leeds. Sorry, you carry on.
Lewis Bates of Fleetwood. Here we go.
Lewis Bates is someone that would be an amazing signing for you.
Yeah, Fleetwood need someone in midfield. I kind of think we need another centre half, really, but that's not going to happen now. We needed another striker, and that's happened. Look, we're very low on the ground at the moment because obviously tomorrow there's no Josh Hill, there's no Jay Lynch, there's no Jaden Stockley, and there's no Promise Sherry apparently as well. So that's 4 out, and obviously bringing Chishimenga in, so it's a good signing. But yeah, I wish it was. I'd rather have signed someone like James Wilson, just for the fact that it's easier to pronounce their name.
Can I jump in with a little bit of transfer rumour? West Brom forward Jovan Malcolm is a late loan target for Cheltenham Town. That is something that's coming out this evening. So we will see whether that's done before the deadline. Another one that interestingly happened today was, and I'm going to absolutely butcher the pronunciation of this, Nathan Butler Oyedeji from Arsenal to Cheltenham. Of course, that was a name that was linked to Pompey a couple of days ago. Obviously, nothing turned out to be anything in that. Whether there was actually a link or not, perhaps that will be left to be seen. But that's a move that he's made to Cheltenham. There was a little bit of an understanding that a certain Cambridge United may well have been interested in that deal as well. So that's another one that's come about today. I suppose we have briefly mentioned it there, Wardy, but how are you feeling about the Carl Edwards move from Ipswich? I thought it was a cracking little announcement where you were chatting the media guys are chatting to Greg Lee, and he kind of little bit of play acting from him to kind of go, fancy, what did he say? Fancy seeing you again or something like that? Or haven't I seen you before?
Yes, it was something like that. I think it was a very, very good media work from the boys at Oxford. And to be honest, it was a bit of a surprise. It sort of came through last night, and we sort of had heard that Liam Manning and Oxford were looking at one more deal, potentially 2. It looks like it is just going to be the 1 now. But I said if we could get 2 done, that would be the perfect end of the window. I can sit on 1 very, very happily. And Carl Edwards is a really, really good addition. I think a few issues with the end product, but in terms of what he can do on the ball, very, very direct, a very, very Liam Manning player, very progressive with the ball. And if he can feed the balls into Harris, who started the season very well, I'm absolutely fine with him being direct and being all about that creativity. If he can improve his end product, then that's just a massive bonus for Oxford United. But a loan deal, we believe as well, Ipswich do have an option to recall him in January, but that seemed pretty standard in loan deals now as well. Just hearing with Cheltenham, they're also quite busy, along with Stevenage. Harvey White, who was at Pompey a few seasons ago, linked with Oxford, I believe, last January. Harvey White, of course, the Tottenham youngster, linked with Cheltenham and Stevenage. So Cheltenham, in terms of teams being busy, we sort of wondered who was going to be the most active across the live stream. It looks as though Cheltenham are starting very, very strong. And by 11 o'clock, we could have a few more additions there.
Go on, Ben.
Just quicker, do you think proximity, like location, plays a bit of a factor on deadline day? Like, obviously, they're like, say Fleetwood looking, maybe if we're looking at a signing. Obviously, I know at Charlton tomorrow, say if we're at home, would look at Blackburn's, Preston, where they can literally get down in half an hour. Do you think that will play a factor maybe later on in the window?
It's an interesting one with exactly what Wardy was just saying there about Harvey White. And I keep a little eye on ex-Pompey players. I happen to know he actually played at Stevenage's ground for Tottenham's, I think it was one of their under put insert age category here team. He was there during the week. So whether he's kind of made a connection with a scout or whether someone from the recruitment department spotted him, I believe he might have scored as well. Someone will correct me on that if he hadn't, but he was definitely there because I remember seeing his Instagram post. So Stevenage isn't that far from North London, as we all know. So you're absolutely right in what you're saying there. I would, definitely be thinking it's important because that deadline day thing, if you are sat there, and we are not ex-professionals whatsoever, probably, I don't know, we should have a game of 5-a-side one day and get someone in goal and see who's actually the better baller out of the 4 of us. I'm sure it wouldn't be me. It's going to be Jake, is it?
He's a goalie.
Oh, okay. Well, Jake, well, then we need someone else, though. We can't have a 4-a-side, can you?
We'll bring Pepe in. Pepe and we can have
Pepe, but Pepe's like, your Colby Bishop, isn't he? I can imagine he's your target man, number 9, 25 goals a season.
We'll ask him later.
We will ask him later. That's another one, Elliot Embleton, which we must get onto as well. I thought that's kind of a developing story today. I'd be interested to hear all your boys' thoughts on that one. But yeah, Ben, I think you're absolutely right. If you're sat there as a professional and you're thinking, well, this club are interested, he's not exactly going to go to, excuse my French, but the arse end of Cheltenham tonight on the M4 and try and get a deal over the line. Is he's much rather just going to quickly nip up the M1 to Stevenage. But then, I don't know, it's kind of, if are you looking for what's easy to just go to on deadline day, or are you looking further into your career thinking, where am I actually going to get to play the most football, or what's going to be the better move for me? So I don't know. That's an interesting one. Can I just go back to a comment from Logan who said, hello, T-Loppers. Tom, do you think Pompey need another signing tonight? Also, do you think Denver Hume will leave tonight? On the second part of your question, Logan, I think absolutely. Where are you going with that light? You're taking the light. Okay, my lighting's being disassembled as we sit here. On Denver Hume, potentially, there was a Pompey News article came out. Swindon and the other club's completely gone out of my head. Who is it, Pepe? It was Swindon and someone else, wasn't it? I don't know who it was. Swindon and someone help me out. Swindon and another club. I believe it was he's probably going to put it in the chat in a minute, but it was Swindon and someone else. That is probably the last little bit of business from a Pompey point of view. I don't think there's an awful lot in terms of incomings. It feels like quite a quiet night. Port Vale, thank you very much. There we go. It was Port Vale. There's not a lot happening. It's quite nice actually to be sat here for the next however many hours we're going to be sat here for, knowing that you've got your business done, you're happy, we're there, we're over the line, got in the boys that you'd want. There aren't any hanging over us thinking, Giovanni Brown got away from us like it was in January, or, we've missed out on this or we've missed out on that. As it turned out, Giovanni Brown wasn't exactly where we want to be, the route we want to be going down. It transpired a few weeks later. But yeah, that's a nice feeling. I can sit here and watch, not the rest of the boys panic, because I feel like, I don't know, you're pretty content, aren't you, Jakey, with the Lincoln business?
We're done, mate. As what my understanding was, that we had a loan deal for, like I said to you boys earlier in our chat, Sinclair Armstrong, who was at QPR. He was the perfect deal. That's fallen apart since he's been put in their first team. The only sort of news we are expecting today, which a move fell through earlier, was Hakeem Delican. But I'm very satisfied with what we've done in the window. I'm sure Wardy and Tom will join me on that boat. We've got our business done. Obviously, there will be murmurings between now and January of who we're all looking at, etc. There are names floating about from a Lincoln point of view still that we expect to get done in January and not now. What a great player he is, by the way. Fantastic young man.
What a great graphic as well, by the way.
What a great graphic for a great player.
More where that came from tonight, boys. Don't you worry.
But yeah,
Jake, read that out. Read all those words out.
Me?
No, I'm just joking. I'm trying to get Jake to read the entire paragraph. It's 3 paragraphs actually, Jake, if you want.
That's more to supplement what Jake has to say about him more than anything.
I'll take the middle paragraph if Wardy takes the top one and Tom takes the bottom one.
Mate, this window will be shut by the time we finish that.
Genuinely, what have you made of him since he joined?
I love him, Tom, to be honest. He's extremely hardworking. I think it was the first 30 seconds against Blackpool on Saturday. He got the ball from the second phase of play from kickoff, and he just put it through the legs of Callum Connolly, who was the left wing back for Blackpool. And he's been fantastic. He did an interview before the Sheffield United game, which we were able to win on pens. Played really well that night. He said he's found a home in football, and obviously that's not something that you often say about football clubs after being there for so short. So clearly he's enjoying his football, and we're very much enjoying him. He looks so settled he's got his position. He plays on the right front three. He knows when to press. He knows when to go and score goals. So yeah, we're very happy with him, mate. For the fee that we've rumoured to pay for him, I'm extremely happy with that deal.
We've also we'll get onto this later on, I'm sure. But I said this to Wardy earlier on, it would be very John Messino and Rich Hughes-esque to just completely announce one out the blue that no one's expecting. And that's been happening all window. So whether we will see it tonight or not, we shall see. I hope for our sake we do, because we want a little bit of excitement. And everything was on a knife edge about Paddy Lane this time, the last time we did a stream. Less of that tonight.
Also, happy birthday, Logan, by the way. End of that.
Yes.
Yeah. Late night birthday present. So,
no,
yeah, Tom's interested about Pompey, right? So, Tom
sorry,
wrote,
I didn't read that. Happy birthday, Logan.
Tom was thinking about which player's going to sign. Logan's thinking, it's my birthday.
I'm sure I will see Logan tomorrow, and I will apologise profusely for not reading the bit about his birthday. And I hope he's had a fantastic day, and I look forward to chatting to him tomorrow. Aaron also said it's a good feeling just sitting watching other teams fight for new players. Very teams with all the Pompey players that have been brought in makes a nice change to get in early this season. Now, this is one that's followed us around a little bit. I'm sorry to kind of quash it. And
it's not happening.
I know everyone in their heart of hearts knows that this is not happening. Oh, my word. He's even put thank you, Jack, and not Tom. That's really embarrassing. Sorry, Logan. Yeah, the Jamal Lowe one looks like it's, is it Swansea that I saw earlier on?
Yeah, he's got Swansea into, from what I've
scored some goals for Swansea.
Is that also every single
has he played for Swansea before, or am I just dreaming that?
Yeah, he has. No, he has.
It's only a loan deal until January, by the way. This one's only a loan deal until January. But I think every single window. I think last time we had Jamal Lowe to Pompey. I believe he did play for him before.
Oh mate, of course he did. He's been probably one of my favourite Pompey players ever in my lifetime.
But is that the reason why he keeps getting?
He still lives in Pompey. Is the reason why?
Because I knew he played for you, but I didn't know that players have played for us before, but they don't get linked every minute of every transfer window.
Two things: he lives in Pompey still, and he posts the occasional Instagram story of the Spinnaker Tower, which
he just teases you all then, and then
he teases us a little bit, and then he doesn't. Yeah, he Neil Allen
goes,
came out.
League One, no chance.
Yeah, no, genuinely that he wants a championship move is what he's been saying all summer, and obviously Pompey fans really want to believe it, partly because he's still local, partly also because he's a fantastic footballer. I'll never forget the lob of the keeper at Wembley against Sunderland back in 2018-19 season. I might be completely wrong with that, but it was certainly a fantastic day. That will live long in the memory. He was so cold with it, mate. Jamal, oh my word, he was literally the coolest man. There's no point in even discussing it because he's not going to join, but I hope one of those players that you'd hope he'd kind of finish a career with you, sort of thing, come back, I don't know, what's a good example of a player that's come back and finished a career recently with us?
With you, I don't know.
Not necessarily with us. Yeah, Marlon Pack's a good example.
Did Marlon Pack play a load for you before he moved the first time though?
Once or twice, but he's part of the academy setup for many years. Definitely you can call it a homecoming, and he's obviously captain now and everything. So that's actually a really good example, Jake. Thank you for bailing me out on that one. Right then, Sean is absolutely all over it. Saw us on the ITFC podcast last night, so thank you for that, Sean. That's very kind of you. Nice to have you in tonight. I don't know if we know who Jacob is, Jack, but he said, "How are you coping that we're going to experience a deadline day without signing 4 wingers?"
Yeah, Jacob is a very active member of the Oxford United Twitter. One of the good guys on the Oxford Twitter. Not that there's many bad ones, just that he's one of the good ones. We do sort of have a track record of signing. Under Robinson, he loved the winger, but never knew how to use them. So his idea was if we sign 15 wingers, 4 of them might be able to play his unconventional way of trying just get it in the box to a striker, Matty Taylor, who hasn't ever been very good with his head. And then we might score some goals. But thankfully, we've now got a manager that is actually targeting players that fits his system, which is refreshing.
Lovely. Is there anything else to add, boys, for the Ben?
Well, Ryan just said he likes my polo, sorry, other than that. Just a little one there.
You do look like John Messino. I've kind of gone for the same style as well with the zip up, but obviously
I like it.
The rest of the T-Loppers didn't get the memo. Ben, how are you feeling about tomorrow's trip to London, mate? What time are you getting up?
I think I'm getting up about 4:45. So
mental.
Looking forward to that. Free it again, isn't it? So Charlton just shot the manager. They're at home. Pressure's on them. They've also lost the last 5. All the pressure's on them, not us. But I'm sick of saying that now. We've got to pick up points. Otherwise, there'll be more pressure on us when we play at home. So, with that, our goalkeeper, our main man, at the back, Josh Hill, and our main striker. So, other than that,
Buzzing. Can't wait to be there. By the sounds of it.
Can't wait.
Quality. Right, well, gents, it is 8:30, which means it's time to move the conversation on. We've had a half hour of T-Lop, and do not worry, everybody, the T-Loppers aren't going anywhere. They're staying right with us. But what we are going to do is welcome in 2 very special guests from everyone knows from the Pompey scene. They're here with us tonight, and I am absolutely delighted they've agreed to spend a little bit of time with us. Good evening to Pepe and Reese, who are here. not just going to be, and Jack's going to back me up on this, we aren't going to just do Pompey for the next half hour, but I'm sure
I
that's
literally
where...
can't physically take that. So that
No, so he's not gonna enjoy it too much. But Pepe, welcome, mate. Should we remind everyone of what happened this time in January when we were on the stream?
I think it's what this stream is known as, really. That final 5 minutes.
Should we play the clip?
I think you should, Tom.
Let's play the clip.
That is the Ryan Hardy that plays for Plymouth and is up front, because I'm getting really excited, Archie. This is not fair. How did that come about? Is that something, because he's been playing games for Plymouth?
Yeah, he has. But the only issue is, I think the amount of strikers we have now, we're coming up to 5, possibly 6. And
Ryan Hardy, I don't know what I'm going to do.
I know. It would be massive. I don't want to excite you too much, but I do feel like he is up for sale. I think, in my opinion. I said you've got Niall Ennis, you've got Ben Waine, you've got all different players that can play in that position. But I'm not too sure. I think
it's not Ryan Hardy. It's not Ryan Hardy. We've just it's actually it's an outgoing.
Wow.
Which is not quite.
Whoa!
It's an outgoing. The cough just before it's an outgoing. Absolutely makes it.
It's not Ryan Hardy. It's an outgoing.
The pause. Before that, he goes, "You're getting me proper excited here. I actually don't know what I'm going to do if it's Ryan Hardy." And then, oh no, it's
I just said to the boys before, and Archie is a great lad, and we're not, by the way, saying that he doesn't know.
No, it was just so funny.
It was just a joke. It was just a joke.
But I will say this: we never sort of broke this line down, but he said Ryan Hardy, I think, in my opinion, is up for sale. Now, those two words, as we know in football journalism and just in just the English dictionary, do not mean a certainty. And for some reason, we completely forgot that he said those two very crucial words. And for some reason, I promise you, boys, I saw Ryan Hardy lifting up an oxygen in my eyes. And it was the most horrible thing in the world when it was actually our striker leaving the football club. It was horrendous.
Matty Taylor.
It was.
So
He's out for a screen. So
I had to rewatch the clip as a whole. I watched about 10 minutes of that stream, and it was pure class. Just seeing
is it the same Ryan Hardy that's got 3 and 4 in the Championship?
Yeah, the same Ryan Hardy that plays in the Championship for Plymouth.
The same Ryan Hardy that's surplus to requirements and up for sale.
Can we talk about the trim from you, Wardy, in our video?
Yes. I'm not going to say what it's horrendous.
You can say what you said before we came on. Go on.
No, I'm not saying what I said, but I will say, for some reason, I was at uni, hence the difference in background, and hadn't sort of worked out the local barbers at that point. So I have now done my scouting on the local Wembley London barbers, and I now can have a haircut more than every time I came home I had a haircut. But obviously, that was the reason why I look horrendous in that.
Before we come to Little Reese, Ben has some breaking news from a Fleetwood Town point of view. Ben, what can you tell us?
So I've heard on the grapevine, apparently, don't know how true this is, there's definitely one more in. Obviously, Lewis Bate will not be joining the football club, apparently, according to a reliable source. Again, that was quite soon ago. Keon Edwards from Arsenal's Academy, he's 19. And he's a right attacking midfielder. He's someone that Fleetwood need, at least even an attacking midfielder. Or we kind of lack a lot of right footers in the team as well. So I think that'll do us as well. I've heard a couple of other names. Obviously, we heard of the lad from Leeds before, but Edwards seemed to be the one. Apparently, just been on Twitter that Fleetwood make Edwards loan. And also, we talked about proximity before. Fleetwood down in Charlton right now. Obviously, he won't be able to play tomorrow, obviously, because the paperwork, I think, has to be done by 12 o'clock, isn't it? Something like that. But again, he could easily join up with the team and watch the game tomorrow in Charlton because of that little bit of locality. So he is someone to maybe keep an eye on. But apparently, Fleetwood will be bringing a player in before the end of the window.
No such thing for Pompey in terms of bringing another player in, Reese. Tonight, we are led to believe. So we'll keep up with Ben as the night progresses. And I'm aware that he's got a sort of 5 a.m. alarm for Charlton in the morning. So he probably won't keep him right until the 11 o'clock deadline that slams shut. And we say slam shut, but we'll probably just ease our way out of the live stream. What doesn't slam shut? The window?
The window carries on.
Does it?
Yeah, if you get deals done between 9 and 11, you've got that hour afterwards. So
Of course.
if we're nitpicking.
If we're nitpicking, but we won't be here for the hour afterwards. We will all be tucked up in
Yeah,
bed, ready to go
nowhere
watch
near
League
that
One
hour.
football tomorrow. Reese, welcome, mate. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with us this evening. It's not like I haven't spoken to you extremely recently. Let's, if Wardy permits it, and if the rest of the T-Lot boys allow me, let's have a little talk about Pompey, specifically Tino and Anjorin arriving at the football club. This is the first time here on Fournilwrittenalloverit, at least, that we've been able to discuss the 14th incoming for Pompey this summer. What did you make of the announcement? Obviously, something we knew that was coming for a little while, but great to have it all clarified and confirmed.
Yeah, well, firstly, it's an absolute privilege to be sharing the screen with you all tonight. I always listen to the podcast every single week, and although I debrief you, Tom, of course, I'm never amazed each week at what kind of content is being created, if I'm honest. Anything's being spoken of. It's just making me laugh, especially when I'm on the train, and obviously I just hear this odd comment from Jack randomly. It just makes me laugh all of a sudden because, you've all got your own content that you create and you're very professional with obviously the own work that you do. But when you lot come together and start having a laugh amongst you all, it does it bring back to earth, don't it, with all of us? Apart from Jake, he's on the end, obviously, with his own little thing going on. But no, sorry, back onto obviously the question itself. I just wanted to add that. But yeah, no, it's a fantastic signing. I know obviously people have their doubts about the injuries and recently how many appearances he's made professionally, but at the end of the day, he's coming on loan from one of the best clubs in the world. So clearly they have an idea of what kind of ability he has at the moment and what he hopes to get with his loan with us. Match fitness, play as many games as possible. And at the end of the day, if he succeeds with us, then both clubs are very happy with his progression already. But as you can see, he's played for Huddersfield in the Championship. He's made appearances in the Champions League for Chelsea. He's scored in the Europa League, I believe, against Marseille. He's had plenty of experience at the age of just 21. And unfortunately, due to the injuries, that's probably why he's at the level he is at. Otherwise, he'd be playing much higher than he is currently. But match fitness, get him into the club, get that little bit of creativity that we're currently missing at the forward end of the pitch, and let's see how he gets on. I know there's a lot of pressure on him coming in, but if he's up for it, then he could be one of the signings of the season for us.
Jared Bowen's just scored in the 37th minute for West Ham at Luton this evening in the Friday night football. Pepe, your thoughts on Tino and Anjorin? We know that Neil was well across it from the get-go, and there was obviously the picture of him at the training ground. What do you make of it?
Yeah, no, it was. It's glad it's done. To be honest, it was going on and on and on. Is it on? Is it off? And then you had reports on Twitter, various people saying, "Oh, it's on." And then someone said yesterday, or before it was announced, till January. It's not. It's till the end of the season, which is good. So there's also that safety net that he could be here for the season. So, like Reece said, if Pompey keep him fit and they can really unlock his potential, then he could really be up there as one of Pompey's best attacking threats this season. I think there's that photo of him with the Champions League trophy. I like that a lot. But I listened to our friend Annie Moon. He interviewed him yesterday at the BBC, and he said he has 2 years left at Chelsea, and this is his big season. He needs to prove himself this season. Otherwise, you might not get a future at Chelsea. And for a 21-year-old, this is massive. And he talked about the project Pompey and John Messina and Rich Hughes sold. And obviously, there were a few various other clubs in League One interested. And how long was that? How long ago was it, Tom, when he was photoed at the training ground? It must have been about 4 weeks ago. So he's taken his time to decide. And luckily, it's with Pompey. So fingers crossed it might be a bit optimistic to start tomorrow. But I'm excited for the season ahead with him.
He wants to break himself in, doesn't he? And he wants to build his minutes up for definite. I am going to exclusively reveal to everyone here on the live show tonight that Jakey Boy and Wardy told me he was going to Reading a couple of weeks ago. So that's all. That all ended up going to plan, didn't it?
Well, in fairness, we didn't know Reading were going to be hit with another one of their transfer bans. So that was during the Harvey near Sam Smith. We're going to try and sign some really big established League One names. So I would
Well,
add
he
that. Also
said,
as well,
yeah.
Will Volks, who of course is at Sheffield Wednesday, got promoted with Sheffield Wednesday, heavily linked and continues to be heavily linked with Derby County, a deal that we expect to be done before the window does shut. I think for Derby, Will Volks is a fantastic addition to their midfield. So just added that one in. No, it's not Pompey related, but it is something that we should add because it is breaking news as we speak. Sorry, Tom.
Ben, can I ask you for your thoughts on Anjorin to Pompey? What have you made of it?
Yeah, I think it's a signing Portsmouth needed to be. They signed a lot of players, haven't they? And I think every player that Portsmouth have signed, they'll add something different to Portsmouth's side and they'll make them better. Norwich coming in goal, obviously, has given them a goalkeeper who knows what they're doing, can keep clean sheets. Regan Poole, I know obviously he's going to hate me for saying that. We'll add something, and I think he's been absolutely class. And you've just added so many, on the screen. There's Scully. Obviously, his better days are ahead of him. Obviously, Gavin White hasn't performed so far, but I know performances will come. Sadie's been brilliant as well. I think I can't wait to see more of him. Kamara, I like him just for his song, to be fair, if I'm honest with you, as well. And obviously, Tino coming in as well, and you've been excited about him for a while, haven't you? And obviously this chat's been going on for about a month. So obviously, I think he was on loan at Huddersfield last year, wasn't he? And scored a couple of good goals as well. So I think it's a really good signing. And Portsmouth are on the way, and they signed a lot of players, but every player has a purpose in that Portsmouth side, which is very important when you're bringing players in, and especially your Portsmouth Football Club, because just because you're a big club and you've got bigger amounts of money than the rest of us doesn't mean that you've got money to go wasted. So they need to play the parts. And obviously, you've got injured lads coming back as well, which I think will play the part later on in the season. The likes of Paddy Lane, I think, will really thrive now.
And Jake, a lack of reliance on loans as well for Pompey, which is something we saw was heavily used under Danny Cowley, and we had various conversations at length about that. How important is that when you're trying to build a side that's actually going somewhere this season and you're not just focusing on those players that are there for the short term? Of course, we're talking about Tino and it's a big season for him, and that's maybe one of the exceptions in the window. But other than that, you look at that list and you think, what is there? 3 loans have come in for Pompey so far?
Yeah, no, it's key because especially the age you're getting some of them in, you want to accrue value so that when these players, if these players grow at a quicker pace than Pompey do, you've got, players that can go for upwards of massive 6-figure sums or, even some 7-figure sums. So it's key for the growth of Portsmouth. They want to establish themselves at the level above to have assets. I mean, you're speaking about Pompey, but it's, again, also massive with Lincoln. We had 7 loans last year. We've only got 3 this year. We're having a massive input on having our own players. We've got players that have accrued a lot of value in the last 12 months, the likes of Errihan and Danny Mandroyu. So I can see why Mousinho is doing it, because, to establish yourself at the level above, you're going to need significant funding. And whether the Eisners want to do it or whether you get external investment, whatever it is, if you want to go up to the Championship, not just to be the whipping boys like Sheffield Wednesday are at the moment. If you want to go up there and compete like an Ipswich or a Sunderland have done in recent years, you need a bit of money. And to have these players on your books as permanent signings, and they know they've got a home, they feel comfortable playing at Fratton Park every week. That's only going to benefit them. So, yeah, I think it's massive for establishing yourself as a top team in this league first. But then, if you want to progress into the division above it, it's going to be huge.
And Pepe, in terms of kind of the general discourse at the moment around Pompey, everyone's obviously frustrated by the number of draws that we've had, particularly the ones that we haven't scored in. And, I've been the Mickey taken out of me on the T-lot for the last couple of weeks. Oh, Pompey going to win the league without scoring a goal or whatever. That phrase seems to just kind of follow us around at the minute. How important is it not to lose sight of the fact that it's 14 incomings over the summer, 5 league games in? That's quite significant, isn't it?
Yeah, very much. I still can't believe we had 5 signings in 72 hours or something, 3 on the first day. I was working when I was at work, working on the opening day of the transfer window, and Pompey, boom, there they are, 3 signings just like that. And you think, oh, okay. And we didn't know we had no inkling of any of them. And there they are, 3 on the first day. And that's probably just been the story of the summer at Fratton Park is they've got deals done quietly. Other than maybe Anjorin and maybe 1 or 2 others, but Regan Poole, that came out of nowhere. Like some of the signings that we've brought in were just out of the blue. And yes, they did. The majority of them were in before they went to Spain, and yes, they have had plenty of time in pre-season to gel. But we are, September 1st now, 5 games into the season. That it's not going to happen just like that. You're not going to be a well-oiled machine by September 1st. So I know I've been frustrated. I missed Leyton Orient 4-0 and Forest Green, the 2 big wins of the season. I wasn't there, so I feel like I'm a curse at the moment. But back to your question. It will take time to gel. Hopefully, relatively quickly, i.e. starting tomorrow, we'll start winning. But it's good that we're still unbeaten, and it's good there's still some positivity. I know people do like a moan, but it is a minority.
What are your reflections on the Pompey window?
Yeah, it's been good. I've had all the conversations as they've gone, and look, as much as I sort of joke around Pompey chat, I think talk about getting your business done early, and this is why you are so relaxed at this point in the window. That's important to say, because you went and did the core of your business. And when we speak about what Pompey needed to do and how they needed to revamp that squad, it needed to happen early. And imagine, we're speaking about identity and speaking about how Massini is integrating these new players, but imagine if this was even later. Thankfully, you got those players in early. Thankfully, you got those players going to Spain. Thankfully, you got those players in during pre-season. I still disagree with what people are saying about Massini not getting those key players playing football. I actually think in the cup competitions as well, even the Papa Johns, I know you've got to use the rest of your squad, but using some of those players that are still working the way around what Massini wants to see wouldn't be a bad idea. But and again, you brought quite a few attackers through the door. I mean, quite a few attackers. I also think as well, the injury to Yengi is really disappointing, because he started as a new signing really, really strongly. And when you don't want injuries, because Pompey have had that with new players coming in and had injuries. So hopefully Yengi's one is just a little one. And when you look at how many players you bring in, is it 15 players
14.
in total? Is it 14 players? I mean, if one gets an injury after 5 games, you could be okay if that's just one here and there, but make sure none of those players are picking up injuries regularly, and you've got a fantastic, you've got a new core, you've got new depth, you've got a pretty much new squad completely. And like you say, it's about integrating it and about getting those players sort of clicking as soon as possible. But you've got all of the chance in the world, because you've got time on your side. You have got time on your side, because you're not losing games of football. It's just scoring goals now. It's letting you down.
Reece, go on, Pepe, go on.
I think Pompey clear of what they were at the end of the season. Like, if you look at the squad before, there was your Ryan Tunnicliffes, Rico Hackett, all those types of players that Clark Robertson, we just knew weren't going to be there. And Pompey's squad, to what it was at the end of the season to what it is now, is so much better. There's so much more depth, and looks like there's been a real plan throughout the summer. John Messino said since the end of the January window, they've highlighted who they wanted. There was a structured plan, and that's pretty much all down to Rich Hughes. And what he's done is structure a plan. They've gone out who they wanted from like January, March, focused who they wanted, and they've got them in early doors. And that's why we saw so many players in at the start of the season. And like Regan Poole, we were waiting on Deshaun Bernard. There was an uncertainty that was going to happen, so they pounced on Regan Poole. If they waited on Deshaun Bernard, Regan Poole could have gone somewhere else. So I do feel Pompey have had a really good summer, and I know we're 5 games in and people are moaning, but as a whole, what the summer is and what the squad is now to what it was 12 months ago and at the end of the season, it is so much better.
I said to Reece as well, how important is Rich Hughes? I mean, in terms of bringing in a director of football and bringing in somebody who has, all I've heard about over the summer is Rich Hughes and this name that keeps coming up. And at the start, it'd be like, who is this guy? Is at Forest Green before? Who is he? What is he all about? And to be honest with you, he has been, from what we understand, the driving force in this Pompey window. And as I said earlier, integration, getting players done quickly, adding a core, adding depth. He's at the heart of all of that, isn't he, Reece?
He definitely is. And I've had the privilege of actually meeting Richard Hughes in his early days of coming to Pompey, along with John Messina at one of our supporters club meetings. And on another level from his actual professional job itself, he's just a really, really nice guy, very honest, very direct. He says it as it is. He's always got time for the fans. Any questions fired at him, obviously within its means and things that he can actually disclose, of course, that is. He's been the missing piece, I would say, over the last couple of years in making sure that we have a really good transfer windows, making sure that the right ones come in and long-term futures, like it was mentioned earlier by Jake, investing for the future, especially if you're going up the divisions, making sure you've got the younger ones coming in. But yeah, I've already been really impressed. I was impressed with his time at Forest Green, hence why we were looking into having him come in. But yeah, you can clearly see with the transfers coming in early, especially with us being one of the only clubs getting all the business done extremely early in all the divisions, not just League One. I think that is down to a lot of the work that Rich Hughes already did before the season finished last year. So it just shows you that we're definitely heading in the right direction when it comes to our structure of business. Not necessarily the names coming in, because some of them don't stand out, but at least we've got somebody at the helm that can obviously direct us in a more professional and positive way.
The senior has been backed. That's important to say.
Yeah, true.
When beforehand there perhaps wasn't the backing for previous managers under previous administration as well, which is something that we were hopefully see the fruits of the labour, as he likes to keep on saying. Coming up to an hour into our transfer deadline day live stream here across the Jack Ward Football Podcast and Fournilwrittenalloverit. Very well welcome to you all. Thank you for being with us. We've had almost half hour on Pompey, probably 10 minutes to go until we start to change the conversation back. You got the T-Block gang as normal, and then two of your favourites from the regular 4-0 videos here to field in any of your questions and Pompey chat. Reece, sorry to come back to you, but I appreciate we haven't really had much from you.
I love the time, mate. The airtime. Give it to me. Come on.
I'll give you more airtime. Who's been a standout for you in terms of the window? Is there one that you'd earmark and say, wow, that was a real bit of business? Or is it more of a kind of, because I would probably say there've been a handful.
I would have to say a handful, and obviously it would be unfair to single out a couple, but I am anyway. There's three of them. That's literally Will Norris in goal, Connor Shaughnessy, and Regan Paul. Regan Paul, because of the quality we knew coming to the club anyway, and he's lived up to that expectation. Let's be fair, he has. And Will Norris for proving Peterborough fans wrong already 5 games into the season. He's been man of the match at least in two of the games this season, kept us in it. Everybody saw on Sky Sports against Exeter that save at the end to give us all 3 points. And Shaughnessy, because he wasn't even meant to be starting at the back at the beginning of the season when you've got Riley Towler and Sean Raggett ahead of him probably. Everybody thought he was just going to be a squad rotational player playing the cup games. But he's been fantastic alongside Regan Paul, and he's been one of the first names on the team sheet each week. So those are the 3 that stood out for me. And then not far behind is Christian Sadie, but I believe he needs more starts now regularly to prove what he can do. But other than that, I've been pretty happy with the business, and I just hope that with Tino coming in, it completes it all. I'm just still a little bit worried that the creative side in the forward pack is missing a little bit, especially with Scully currently injured as well. Lane just coming back from an injury. Kamara, maybe he had a bit of an unfortunate evening on Tuesday against Peterborough, but he's young. You see, he's young, he's inexperienced, but the more minutes he plays, I'm hoping that John can get him playing together and scoring some more goals than we have, because at the back, we've been fantastic.
Can I jump in and ask Jakey? There's been a little bit of apathy around the Pompey fan base with regards to Anthony Scully's performances. And actually, we'll chat about this later on with Hancock analysis, I'm sure. But the starting 11 that we're expecting from tomorrow has neither Gavin White nor Anthony Scully in it. Now, he is injured. We should put that out there. And he is going to see a specialist. That's kind of in the works at the moment. Can you put Pompey fans' minds to rest a little bit, Jake? Because there's obviously been, we don't even know. Maybe Pepe can tell us a little bit more. And I'm going to go to Pepe on some little bit of breaking news that he's got from a source on his phone very shortly. But before we do so, Anthony Scully hasn't quite hit the heights that maybe not yourself personally, but he was perhaps bigged up to be this big marquee winger that we were bringing in. He's now, you can see the business coming in the last back end of the transfer window to the extent to which we probably won't play with either winger that Massino's made a lot of the transfer business about. So can you put our minds to rest a little bit? What more can Pompey fans expect from Anthony Scully?
Well, I mean, obviously I don't know what you've seen. I'm guessing on how you're speaking about him, it's quite limited. You need a bigger sample size. He's still only young. He's not long been, obviously, at the football club. He was sensational for Lincoln over multiple seasons. I think it was, I'm trying to figure out, he came in the COVID season, didn't really play a lot. He'd come straight out of the West Ham youth team. But the season we got to the playoffs. By the way, I had a conversation with Dylan this week. He says, "Oh yeah, Lincoln have never finished above Pompey ever." I said, "Dylan, hold on, got a screenshot of the table just 2 years ago. So Dylan, that's you in your place, pal. But that
Not the
season,
COVID
anyway,
year.
it was a good year. He was sort of like, especially after we signed Morgan Rogers from City, he was sort of a bit like second fiddle, but he still managed to score 15 league goals that season, I think. The year after, completely just took over as our main attacking threat. He's a fantastic player who, yes, he's quite predictable in what he wants to do in terms of shift on his right foot, but there's one thing knowing what he's going to do, and there's another thing stopping it. And I think he scored goals recently, as much as last year. I think he scored a really good goal away at Oxford. Wardy, you'll be able to tell me about that.
Yeah, that was,
scored
that was a good goal.
I think Ben got a great video of his goal against Fleetwood from the 21-22 season in front of him. So, look, he's a great player. He's got lots to come. He's new to the city. He's new to the system. So, I expect Anthony Scully to be a hit at Fratton Park. Absolutely, he's a fantastic player. And like Ben said, he's got his best days ahead of him still for me.
Wardy, anything else?
I was going to add the Gavin White, and we had Gavin White and Jake had Anthony Scully, and I believe from what I've heard, both of those two players, and Gavin White's isn't injured, isn't playing at the moment because of form, and he hasn't really hit the ground running. I think patience is important. I think Gavin White was somebody who, when we first had him, did require patience. And I remember coming on your stream, you did a stream when the whole Pompey thing was kicking off, and Gavin White was one of the names that came in and came up in conversation, and then eventually did sign. You will need patience on Gavin White. He's a player that is full of blistering pace. He did struggle with output, as I did mention at the time with Oxford in his second spell. But in the first time we had him, he was very, very good at output. But it will take time. I also think as well, it's really unfair to judge Pompey wingers right now because Massinio, let's call a spade, does not know how to use those wide players and does not know how to have an attacking identity as of right now. So I don't think you can sort of write off these players when actually it's not like, every winger that's come in since those two have absolutely set the world alight, is it? I mean, you're looking at trying to work out exactly which players are trying to fit in and how they're going to play, how they're going to be creative. I mean, you had Sparks playing as a left winger. He signed as a left back that compared to left wing back. So you're still trying to work out exactly what is what in those attacking areas. When it does happen, even if Gavin White isn't a starter, if you can work out exactly what you want from your inverted wingers or traditional wingers, I think, it will tick. And if it doesn't work, then you hold your hands up and say that's one of 14 transfers this summer that didn't quite work out for Pompey. But I think you can sort of take I think someone said the average of transfers that sort of tend to work. It's not always a high percentage, is it? And when you bring in 14, you're limiting that even more. But patience is important, guys. I know I know fans hate it, the word patience, but it is important.
Pepe's got some bit of breaking news for us.
Yeah, it's not really breaking, but Neil Allen, trusted Pompey writer, my ex-colleague, saying there is still hope over Denver Hume. He tweeted about 45 minutes ago saying, latest on Denver Hume is it continues to rumble on. Pompey desperate to offload him before 11 p.m. deadline. There's still hope. So
don't go to bed yet.
He also is well within his rights to want to stick around as well, is something we should say.
Well, I mean, this just changes the conversation completely, but still on Denver Hume is if he looks at Jack Sparks, so we know Denver Hume is more of an attacking fullback. If you look at what Messino's done to Jack Sparks and moving him into a left winger, why can't Hume maybe knock on Messino's door and say, look, I'm not going anywhere. Would you think of, or possibly move me to left wing?
Has he got years left on his contract? What's the contract situation with Denver Hume?
I
think he's got a year left, I do believe.
Because if this conversation about him, the hope of him leaving, they're going to buy him, I presume, out of, with a transfer fee.
Yes.
Or a loan. Could be a loan.
I think it's been more of a loan talk, I think, Tom, isn't it? Over the summer, it's been more, I don't know. I'm just trying to re-wrap my brain.
Ben, would you take Denver Hume? You're sort of scooping up. He's waggling his finger there. I sort of want you to speak. Would you take Denver Hume?
I was literally thinking of this. We signed Adam Montgomery, right? And he's played 30 minutes in pre-season, never to be seen again. And we only signed him, let's be honest, because he played for Celtic. But that's the only reason. If he played for anyone else in Scotland, we probably wouldn't have signed him. He fits our bill. We play a back three. We need attacking wing back. Rooney's an attacking right wing back. For me, I think he fits the bill. And he's not good. I don't think he's quite good enough for Portsmouth, but for a Fleetwood, different expectations. I say this about a lot of different players that we've had from Portsmouth. how we see different. I think Ellis Harrison was the one, and Rico Hackett for Lincoln as well. John Marquis when he went to Lincoln as well. I'd have him at Fleetwood absolutely all day, every day, because we need a left back. We need another. If I could,
11 players.
We need another 6 minimum. But
another 6. You got 2 hours.
We've got 2 hours, right? And I mean this. If we don't bring at least one in, I'll be very worried. Very worried.
Do we have any idea who that one may be, Ben, by any chance?
It's it's something Edwards from Arsenal's academy.
The Arsenal youngster.
He scored, I think, 20 goals in 22 games for the under-18s last year. Kion Edwards, apparently, and he's a very.
The one we were interested in, Tom.
No, that's not him. He's gone to Cheltenham today, isn't he? Yeah.
But we are fighting Crew Alexandra for his signatures.
Oh, good luck.
Could be a battle, that. Could be a
big battle, that one. It's a big battle.
Competition over there.
We'll keep our eyes on that. It's just ticked over to 9 o'clock. Welcome along to everybody who joins us. I can't believe we've already done an hour, by the way. That's absolutely flown by. I don't know how that's happened. There is, I did see that a minute ago, flashed up on my screen. That one's been rumbling on, Jake. I don't know how much you know about it. Is that something you could maybe fill us in if viewers at home and maybe some of the panel members don't know too much about that one?
Yeah, I think it's been no object that Barnes have been in for a striker. Obviously, they let Norwood go to Oldham earlier in the month. And Al-Mohammadi is a great striker. I think he did pretty well in the Paul Wimbledon side last year in League Two. I think he had one of the best shot to goal conversion rates in the league last year, despite only playing for a side that finished sort of in the bottom half. So definitely a striker that I've spoken to Wimbledon fans about. A guy called Ray. He is a massive fan. He was of Asal that was at Wimbledon as well. If you can remember him, he's gone off to play in Qatar. But he's the next one on the Wimbledon conveyor belt. I know they've had a lad go to Man City this year, the goalkeeper Spikes or whatever his name is. But yeah, no, he's a good centre forward, tall centre forward, knows where the back of the net is. Obviously in the league below, big jump, big price tag to come in for Barnsley, but would be a good signing, I think, if Barnsley could get it over the line. I know it's 2 hours to go to the deadline, but they need a striker, and if they have to pay £1 million for one, then because I know they were interested in Coyote that was at Rotherham and MK Dons as well, so be intrigued to see who they do get in, but I believe they will probably sign a striker.
Lovely.
Not Ryan Hardy.
Potentially not Ryan Hardy. Well, that just about rounds up the Pompey chat for you for now. Well, I'm sure we'll get back into it when Hancock Analysis joins us a little bit later on. One thing we should maybe, I don't know if we touched on it too much, Wardy, but some of the I mean, today made me sit up and go, crikey, Oxford have had a really good window. And I remember messaging you this afternoon about it and going, you know what, all of a sudden this is turning into, I don't know what's the number now? It's got to be double figures, hasn't it? It's
11, yeah.
It's 11. So, you know, and that's adding to a side that has started the league season incredibly well, let's not forget. So how excited can you be right now at the Kassam or in and around Oxford at how everything's looking up at the moment?
Yeah, I said to you when we were top of the league and we still are, so I shouldn't say that. When we were top of the league for we still are, but for the 3 days after, I was just buzzing we were there. And now my mind has just shifted just to tomorrow. And I'm just thinking about that game and just so scared of the pelts I'm going to get when we're not there. So it's sort of a strange balance of it right now. And I also said to you, I was very, very, I'm going to take the window and absolutely run with it and be extremely pleased with it. I've just seen, by the way, about 20 people have left. Now we've talked about Pompey, so we know where the audience was on that. So goodbye, those Pompey fans. Sorry. Oxford now. There is a club in this league called Oxford. They're top of the table. So yeah, no, but I have been really pleased. I've been really impressed, and we've, like you say, Carl Edwards is a really great addition because he gives us something a little bit different. He replaces the Marcus Brown injury that has been a big blow. Greg Lee is probably the marquee signing when it comes to money that we've spent. He's the biggest one. We apparently spent a comfortable 3-figure sum on Greg Lee for Ipswich. So clearly we're trying to spend a bit of money as well, which is nice. Sum. Is that what I said?
3-figure sum would be like
no
max,
six-figure sum.
6-figure sum. was gonna say.
He cost us £100. No. He was, a six-figure sum. I was thinking of the amount of zeros. I thought 3 zeros, 3. It's not. It's 6 figures.
6-figure sum.
But again, the window goes all the way back to Ruben Rodriguez. I forgot when we signed him. That was ages ago now. That feels like such a long time ago that we had in that group chat that Ruben had signed. It was the first sign that we made. And then McKechnie came in, Jonathan Thornley came in, James Beadle came in, and Jake was really excited about James Beadle when that was announced, and he was really impressed by that. And that feels like donkeys years ago. So, we're really, really pleased with what we've done. We've really added to a squad.
Mark Harris.
Mark Harris. I mean, there's 11 of them, and I have forgotten some of them. I mean, Sonny Perkins has come in, Stanley Mills has come in.
Do you want some help, Wardy?
Yeah, can you have some more? Finn Stevens, of course, great play played at the weekend. Max Waltman, I'll let myself off there because he hasn't yet played for Oxford. And I think it's strange. He's one of those players that I don't think is going to get a loan move before the end of the window, but he hasn't yet featured in the squad. He always travels with the team, he trains with the team, but I think he's sort of on the fringes.
Really sorry to interrupt you. We have got some pending. We've got some pending Derby County news incoming in the next few moments or so. It's just a single tweet on their Twitter page that says "Time for another edition" with the signing emoji. So,
Will Volks.
Wigan as well.
Whoever that may be. What was that? Sorry, Ben.
A signing for Wigan as well. Omar Rekic has joined Wigan Athletic on loan until January. A centre half has gone in there.
There we go. So there's more news and League One.
Tom, do you remember the Pompey midfielder Rekic put the ball in for Norris?
Oh yes,
yes.
That's the brother of
Rekic. Shot on goal. Oh, what a goal!
Yeah.
David Norris.
Sorry, I just thought I'd put
one of the best moments of my life. That was hands down.
Are we presuming that Derby County signing is going to be Embleton?
That would be my guess.
Or Will Volks.
Will Volks is one that I put it out there a minute ago, and I've got a lot of people come back and say that isn't as secure as we thought. But again, he was linked earlier in the day.
They're trying to bring another midfielder in Sheffield Wednesday, so maybe they're working on it. Apparently, according to their local journal.
I think it's Embleton is my guess, but I'm sure we will find out in just a few short moments. Can I then just one more thing? I was going to ask Ben actually. What have you made of Oxford's window, mate? Because we've heard a lot from Wardy about it, but we haven't really heard from you.
It's been good.
Honestly, really, really impressed. They've gone out, and I remember Wardy saying, in one of our, T-Lock episodes at the start, Liam Manning was asked, where do you need to improve? And he wanted to improve in every single position.
I didn't believe him.
And he's gone out and somehow got 11 players in, but filled the gaps. He's got a recognised striker in Harris. He's got Ruben Rodriguez, who will add goals, who will add assists. And this is to add to already the Tyler Goodrums who's been, Jack Ward himself as well.
Or me.
And your Brannigans, he's looked impressive. And these experienced players, obviously, a goalkeeper's come in as well. And every player that they brought in, like Portsmouth, they've done the homework, and you can really tell that there've been some thought. There's been some thought gone into it, and they've not rushed either. And like every single player they brought in has kind of been like a process of they'll get the man eventually. And if they don't get the man, they're not panicking. They'll bring someone in just as good as well. So really impressed with Oxford. And I don't think it's an unfair shout now to say that Oxford United could get into the top 2. I think it's very likely.
Oh my God. You don't have yourself, do you? You moan at me when I start getting excited and you come with comments like that.
No, I'm not being funny with the players that you've signed. The expectations should be to challenge for the playoffs minimum. There would be no surprise if Oxford pushed on because, one, they've got a good feel-good factor. They've got a great tight-knit squad that know the roles, that know they're going to play. They know exactly how to play. Manning knows his system. And when you have the ball as well, obviously it takes less time to recover as well because you're not doing as much running and all that jazz as well. And you're going away from home against, Barnsley, Derby winning as well. The tough test tomorrow is against Port Vale, how you handle that, because we saw you manage to get through against Carlisle. Port Vale, let's be honest, have been absolutely brilliant for me. I think that, since the opening day, probably, in my opinion, I think I'd have to give them the respect they deserve for being one of the best teams in League One since that opening day defeat, losing by 7. So it's going to be a really tough game for you. But I think Oxford will be a real challengers this year.
And if you
So,
win tomorrow, mate, then you're still top of the league. I don't know if you knew that or not, but it's just
I've worked out. I've just
something
worked out.
to-
If we get 3 points, I think, and I'm not 100% sure. I think we stay there.
Let's move on rather swiftly. I'm delighted to say we've got Mr. EFL joins us, so really pleased that Mr. Gab Sutton is kindly with us this evening to go through absolutely everything there is to go through, I'm sure, about League One, and I can't wait to ask him a few questions about Pompey as well. Good evening, Gab. Welcome. How are you?
Hi, folks. Great to make my debut. Thanks for having me. Look forward to getting into it.
Very much so. Can I go in first, Wardy? Is that all right? Because I've been
You've
buzzing
been
to asking this all day.
absolutely desperate to ask this question. Go on.
So, obviously we all saw your predictions, Gab, and I clicked on it and I thought, oh, this will be interesting because you kind of get to see where he's thinking and it gives you reasoning, etc. And it was relatively early as well, wasn't it? Let's put that out there. Like that came before a lot of the other predictions that we saw. You went for Pompey top and you've backed John Messino to take us up. Would you mind explaining to maybe some of our audience tonight that haven't seen the article why you went for that?
There's a few reasons. I think what I really liked about the recruitment was there's a little bit of creativity about it, a bit of thinking outside the box, a few players with a bit of a point to prove, a couple of Cassini Yengi from Australia I thought was a really exciting signing. And there's a lot of players as well who were really highly rated as teenagers and who were kind of in that early to mid-20s bracket where they hadn't quite fulfilled their full potential for reasons that were maybe, cultural or stylistic or, what injuries, whatever else. And Portsmouth felt like they could kind of nip some of those issues in the bud and get the sort of high potential player that's there. So that was one of the first reasons, and I think that was quite clever. And I suppose what sort of gave me the confidence to back that was Richard Hughes, because in his first full season as sporting director at Forest Green Rovers, they won the League Two title. So, and also I kind of liked John Messino in terms of the way he comes across, and I realised that there's you've got to be careful with that because you don't want to buy in too much to someone who's just an incredibly good people person, a man manager, and coming across in the media, because you've got to have substance behind that. And maybe there's quite a small sample size, I guess, with John Messino. But he did do well considering it was his first job. Basically, he was registered as a player last season, let's not forget, at Oxford. And then I think, as well as some of the younger players that I'm really excited about, I also think there's a core of experience like your Joe Rafferty's and your Marlon Pack. So all things considered, it was a little bit instinct-led, that one. But I just kind of fancied you, yeah.
So given the first 5 games, would you say you now have any reservations for where you put us? Or are you in the camp of Pompey fans need to give this time and patience and maybe judge it after 10 games rather than judging it after 5, perhaps?
Well, I mean, I think it's been a steady start, hasn't it? Because if I'm not mistaken, there hasn't been a league defeat yet.
Nope.
Obviously, probably dropped points at Steve.
Feels like it.
I know, yeah. With your lot, the way you go. No, I think there's been drop points against Cheltenham and Stevenage, and you'd have probably wanted more from those games. But I'm pretty confident things are going to click.
Lovely, Jack.
I didn't really have a specific question.
But there's been a lot of Pompey, so I want to shut up about Pompey for now.
Is it because you just read the message? The message is this a Pompey show? Which is a fantastic comment.
Technically, it is a Pompey show, but I
didn't write that.
I'm sure you didn't.
No, Tom, go ahead. I haven't got a specific question, but I was just going to say, again, we don't want to do window winners just yet because so much can change. But Gab, who would you really highlight as the window winner? Who would you say has caught your attention? Maybe not just one, but if you could pick your favorite 10, but your favorite, let's say 3, because there's been quite a few clubs that have done a lot of business and some quality business as well.
Sure. Yeah. What a great question. I suppose it's easy to say this now. They're second, but I really like some of the loan business Exeter City have done. They got Ryan Trevitt on loan from Brentford. I think that was a great signing, and I think that partnership of him and Tom Carroll in midfield is a great mix of sort of youthful exuberance and experience and nous, and I'm really excited about that. Dion Rankin, they got on loan from Chelsea as well. Jack Aitchison. I think they need a really good window. They've got a lad called Marcus Flitcroft who's head of recruitment there. I think he does a really good job. City fans won't thank me for saying this, but I think he could maybe be one who goes on to better things because his recruitment over the last couple of years has been amazing. So I'd maybe go with Exeter City.
Can
Interesting.
I jump in and remind people who might not have seen Gab's predictions where he went for with Fleetwood, and I'm sure there's going to be a few.
Absolutely.
Yeah, go on, fill your boots.
So for me, I'm it's very interesting. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with Nappers on this. I think
So is he by the looks of it. He looks like he's
I
going
know,
to cry.
He's looking down and then looking up like, come on, man. So for me, I think it's a psychological theory with Fleetwood, because if the situation with Andy Pilley hadn't happened, I'd probably have Fleetwood quite comfortably safe, maybe around 17th, 16th, something like that. But I do put a lot of stock in the impact of losing this sort of father figure, the reason Fleetwood Town have been able to do what they've done over the last 20 odd years. Firstly, the rise up the leagues, was it 5 promotions in 9 years or something along those lines, and then actually achieve consistent League One safety. That was only possible because of Andy Pilley, and I think there's so much gratitude to the club because he's done a lot of good things for the town. And I think the idea that the sun doesn't shine out of his backside is actually quite a difficult thing for Fleetwood Town fans to sort of face, because he's an icon. And I do think that there's maybe a difficulty from the club to actually accept that challenge. And I think that's going to have a massive psychological effect. Not really so much for a practical effect, because I do think it's business as usual from a practical point of view. But I just think in terms of the mood and the atmosphere around the club, I think it's going to have a massive impact.
Ben?
Ben, crack on.
Yeah, absolutely. And when Gab put these predictions out, I saw the Fleetwood Mafia go at him and all tweet back. My reply was, I put some eye emojis, because like Gab, I had in my predictions Fleetwood very low in my predictions for a number of weeks, and I went over to Ireland actually and watched the team train. I think I watched them twice in the space of 3 or 4 days. Watched them around the hotel, and I kind of thought everyone was kind of going, as you do at the start of the year, everyone was going, I think we can get players this squad, because Fleetwood signed 4 or 5 players. No, at this time, I wasn't saying this because I think there's too many Guinnesses got to them, if I'm honest with you. But at this time, Fleetwood had signed one of the most players in the league. They signed 4 or 5 players very early on. Montgomery came in, Graydon came in very early. Danny Mayer also signed as well. I think that signing was the one that kind of went, well, Fleetwood are going to be up there with signings like that.
Ryan Broom.
Yeah, Broom as well, experienced. I think Broom's probably been the best signing of the lot, actually, if I'm honest with you.
He wasn't that great at Cheltenham, though, last season, Nappers.
It wasn't, but he's been good for us so far. He's been hardly given any minutes, but he's a workhorse. He's played right back most of the time he's been here. He's played midfield and not been given an opportunity, but looked good. But I think that says everything you need to know about Fleetwood. But my instant reply was to Gab's tweet. I thought, I think we'll finish bottom. I don't. I really don't. But I can kind of see why Had was in the bottom 4, because the reason why Fleetwood are struggling, there's no leadership there, and it's kind of like there's no one that cares enough at that football club at the moment. And unfortunately, when you're losing games of football and senior members of the staff are going in the bar afterwards, drinking, singing, dancing after you've just gone, second bottom in League One, I kind of think can kind of like what's that about? But again, I agree with Gab, on all these points. I do think kind of people need to realise that Fleetwood have still got money there, obviously till the end of the season. Then we'll worry.
I agree with you on that point, by the way. I'm with you on that point, by the way. This wasn't because Fleetwood run out of money. That wasn't really my thing.
No, I absolutely agree with that. And it's the lack of leadership at the moment. But at the moment, we've got enough money to tide us over till January or till the end of the season, I believe. So I think Fleetwood will be all right with that. But obviously, the signings that you've seen Fleetwood signed, they've not signed as many. With loan signings, we let go at 9. I think we brought in 6. So the squad is very slim as well. So I can kind of see where Gab's coming from. At this moment in time, obviously, he's looking a genius, but there's still 41 games to go.
I'm so sorry to jump in, but we'll get back to this because it's a fascinating conversation between the two of you. Gab, I wonder if we could come to you on some breaking news that's literally broken in the last couple of minutes or so.
Sure.
We've had confirmation Elliot Embleton has signed for Derby County from Sunderland in the last pretty much couple of moments. I know some Derby fans in the chat this evening are delighted with that.
Excited by that.
What's your immediate reaction to that one? What do you think on that deal?
Is he going to get on the ball? because the Paul Warne side is very, very direct, and they always go long. For me, I think what Derby needed from this window was a real target man. From memory, someone might correct me, but I don't think they've been able to bring that type of player in. Martin Waghorn, not really. I don't really see him as that role, although he did score a hat trick on Saturday. So yeah, that's the kind of concern. He's a very technical player, very creative, but are Derby going to be able to get him on the ball if they're always often going to go long from the start? Who's going to win the physical aerial duels to actually get Embleton on the ball in the first place?
Jakey boy, what's your reaction? What are your thoughts?
Well, I can remember him the year they beat us in the player final. He was on loan at Blackpool, and he was scintillating that year in a Neil Critchley
scored
side.
against us in the semi-final.
Yeah, we did. Him and Ellis Sims had a little bit of a play with Oxford United a couple of times that year, but I thought he was excellent for Blackpool that season. I think Sunderland were sort of regretting letting him go. I think they were even calling to get him recalled for the playoffs, but obviously they weren't able to do that sort of thing. But I think he's had a hard time of it at Sunderland. Maybe he's not perhaps Sunderland have moved a little bit too quick for Embleton. He had a really good year at Blackpool. Obviously, Sunderland got promoted the year after. Was a massive part, I believe, in their promotion as well. And then Sunderland have gone on to do amazing things in the Championship, and perhaps League One is his level, where at Derby County, like Gab says, there's clearly some concerns. But on the ball, I don't think there's any doubt in his ability to drive at full-backs and hit one in the top corner. So for me, if they can get him on the ball in the areas that matter, then I think Embleton will prove to be a pretty big part of this new look Derby County side.
Wardy, you've got some donations, mate.
Yes, I've just seen. I can bring them up, can't I? I think.
Of course you can. You go for it, mate.
Look at that. That is technology.
Have you spoken to Gab about Oxford's window, by the way?
We briefly have done it over on the EFL debate. Definitely go and check that out, by the way, that Gab does every single week. We spoke about it briefly on there. But again, Gab, I asked the question about who won the window. And I was sort of thinking he might mention us, he might not, and if he doesn't, then I'll just ask him directly instead. What have you made of Oxford's window? If again, we've sort of I can't be contradictory. Sort of go Pompey chat and then sort of go heavy on Oxford, but I will say that I have been impressed. But Gab, through your eyes, how have you seen it?
Well, I like the fullback additions, because I think what you've got in Sam Long and Jaron Brown is two really solid, steady operators, and I think what you've got in Finn Stevens and Greg Lee are two very athletic, sort of driven fullbacks or wing backs who love to sort of bomb forward, and I think that means that on either side you've kind of got one of each version, and that's very helpful in terms of flipping between a 3 and a 4. I know that in that victory at Barnsley, which I was there for, Liam Manning, when Barnsley went to put on another couple of strikers, Liam Manning actually went to a back 5 when his sort of starting system is back 4. So he likes to have that flexibility. So I think that's really strong. Do you know what? I remember, Wardy, when I had you on my show, you sort of mentioned Mark Harris.
I was going to bring this up. You the frown on your head when I said that. Harris,
it was like my classic skeptical expression.
It was that look of this guy is reading too much about the positivity around this guy. And look, he might still. I think actually, to be honest, Gab, you're not completely in the wrong, because he scored 2 against Derby, 1 against Carlisle. But actually, since then, we are sort of seeing a little bit of him finding exactly how to play with Harris and sort of working out exactly what to do. I think partly because sort of Goodrum's been on fire and other players have sort of maybe taken the limelight away from him slightly. But if he does score only 2 goals away from home, or just 2 goals in general, I mean, 2 against Derby County, I wouldn't take it, but I'd go, I mean, those are 2 very important goals. But how did your view change on it? I think I made the point to you and I sort of came back at you a little bit and said that I don't think he was ever given that real opportunity to nail down that number 9 position at Cardiff. He was always used as a super sub, used as a player that came off the bench, but never really was it was never really the Harris up top that Cardiff was sort of building their team around. I'm not going to ask you to sort of change your view on it, because I don't think I fully I'm backing my own. I'm just hoping myself. But how do you see it now?
Well, I do. I've been sort of quite pleasantly surprised that he does seem to be coached to make those more individualistic runs where you say, go and try and get yourself a goal, as opposed to kind of running the chat. Like for Cardiff, it felt like his runs were actually away from the penalty area where he was creating space for someone else. Whereas I think for your lot, the runs seem to be more into the penalty area. And I'm surprised how quickly he's sort of taken that instinct. So, yeah, well done to Liam Manning, I think.
We're going to lose Pepe and Reece, sadly, in just a couple of moments. Before we do so, last little bit of Pompey chat, if I may. Reece, first to you. Thoughts ahead of
Pompey.
Well, we're going to have Jack on in a moment. I'm sure there'll be much more Pompey to come. But just
in-depth
you,
professional opinions from Jack rather than just me just chatting rubbish. Yeah,
that's not what I was going to say, but we'll go with it. Your final thoughts ahead of tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing you, as I always do. It's obviously a different Peter besides the one that came to us on Tuesday. How are you feeling, just briefly?
Yeah, it's another really, really big test. So I think Peterborough, Charlton, Bolton, Derby's, all of them teams in our league, they are what we obviously try to match and try to obviously come up against to see where we are in the table come the end of the season. So I'm really looking forward to it. Yes, Tuesday was a different side for both teams. They had a lot more youngsters than we did, to be fair. We had a few first teamers out from the get-go. But all in all, we got our first 11 starting again tomorrow. So back to league. I'm really confident, actually. I don't think Tino would have too much involvement since signing. I think it'll be the same as Alex Robertson when he came in, not getting straight into the starting 11, but might come off for a few minutes at the end of the game or get the 20-odd minutes. Just excited to get back down to Fratton Park, to see you, to see the others, and hopefully get back on track because I'm fed up of 0-0s.
Pepe, how are you feeling about tomorrow, mate?
Oh, I don't want to say anything because I seem to be this unlucky curse that follows Pompey this season. So I don't want to say a win because I know if I say that we're going to get hammered. So look, I hope. I just want to see a goal, Tom. Yeah, that's all I want to do.
It would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be nice. So yeah, fingers crossed. Lovely weather, sunny Fratton, and I'm hopeful of 3 points. So. Yeah, fingers crossed. But I just want to watch a goal, Tom, to be honest. I don't care how we play. I just want to watch a goal.
Me too. But before the boys leave us, Gab, any thoughts on Tino and Anjorin coming into the football club from your point of view? Obviously, a relatively...
I've seen very little from him, I'm afraid.
So,
I've seen very little of him. I'm not saying it's about that. I'm not sure about him, to be honest.
Tom, I don't know if you've mentioned at all Jay Mingy. I don't know if that's been brought up.
Colchester, yeah.
Yeah.
He's got his championship move.
Yeah. I wanted to bring that up because I saw it earlier and that was probably one of the biggest things at the end of the window, wasn't it? At the start of the window, sorry, and at the end of the season was what's going to happen with Jay Mingy. And it's gone on and on and on, and he's been posting photos of him training by himself and all this talk of that championship interest in January has never come to fruition. And now he's gone to a side 22nd in League Two when I don't know if it didn't work out under John Messino. We have no idea, but surely he'd want to fight for a place in a high-flying League One side than go to a League Two, 22nd in League Two. But anyway, who are we to say, Tom? Who are we to say?
I feel like it could have been something with Jay Mingy at Pompey. I really do.
To this day, I thought he could have been. He would have signed that deal, and he would have fought for a place in Pompey's first team. To this day, I still believe that. Last year, and he was emerging, and we thought, here we go. This is our new midfielder for the next 3-4 years, and just like that, he's gone by the end of the season. So.
Even with the 14 new additions at the football club, I think if Jay Mingy was still a Pompey player without the contractual issues and the agent issues and whatever's followed him around over the summer, I still think he offers something different to the squad out of all the, with it. And probably a major part of the incomings has been that midfield, hasn't it? But still, you'd still look at Jay Mingy and think, he still offers something different. But I suppose new challenge, see how he gets on at Colchester. I don't know whether they're crying out for a Jay Mingy type. I'm sure they probably are. If
they have regular games now in League Two, as we know, because with Pompey, although he was something for the future and we could all clearly see a talented player, he was never having that regular spot every single week in the league. So now if he's got the time to prove himself in that league, then other clubs will look at him and he might get that championship move that he really, really wanted.
Lovely. Boys, it's 9:30. So Pepe, Reese, thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you both tomorrow. We're going to continue the conversation here on 4-0 Sunday Live tonight. Let's have a little look further around League One. Actually, Jake, let's come to you on Elliot Embleton, mate, if we may. That's something that's happened relatively recently as such. I've lost. What have I done? I've had an absolute mare here. Here we go. It's coming. Don't worry. Give me a second. Jake, talk for a bit and we'll... Oh, there we go. We're all sorting ourselves out now. Elliot Embleton, did you give us a reaction earlier on?
I did, mate. Yeah. You also
Sorry,
just called it
Ben.
4-0 Sunday Live, Tom.
Go to
Yeah, he's
bed.
having-
Did I? Fault to habit. Sorry. Very
Also,
if
as well-
you haven't watched those,
sorry.
check them out. They're very good. 4-0 Sunday Live.
I was going to say we should say thank you to the people that have donated money to the stream
Go
today. So
on.
we never actually
Go
got
for
around
it.
to doing
Go
that.
through them.
Sam says we got 3, I think, in total. Sam started off. Thank you very much, Sam, by the way, for your donation. It is just very, very nice of you. And you don't have to do that. Trust me, you don't. Oxford's window has been very good. Jack, do you think the change of approach was fueled by Liam entirely or learning from the Robinson? No. It's clear the character of a player has been along. Clear character of a player has been along with the ability. Yeah, I'd agree with the point there. Learning from the Robinson era in terms of learning the mistakes of the Robinson era, definitely not from learning from Robinson. I wouldn't learn from him directly. And not that he was a complete disaster from start to finish, but I'd say that come the end of his time at Oxford, it was a disaster. It's ironic that we're talking about the transfer window, and Sam, I'm sure you're very intelligent, and that's why you brought it up. The transfer window last summer from Oxford United was absolutely awful. It's amazing what 365 days can do in football. We were bringing 31-year-olds that broke their leg 3 years ago in the Championship and haven't quite kicked on since, and hoping they're going to sort of turn their career around. And breaking news, that didn't happen. So yeah, in terms of learning from the mistakes of the Robinson era from last summer, we definitely have. We're bringing in a much younger squad. The average age of the squad has absolutely plummeted. I think you look at the Barnsley team that finished, and when we beat them, I think there was no player over the age of 30 on the pitch, which I think shows really how Liam Manning is looking to build a side that is much younger than it normally and was before. And changed by the approach. Yeah, definitely Liam Manning's been a key part of that, a crucial part of that, and a large majority of it. And character is definitely there. I think Greg Lee is a perfect example of character. We watched the interview and Ipswich fans they were banging on about how Greg Lee is an amazing guy. And until we actually saw him for the first time doing media duties for Oxford, we didn't quite grasp it. But you can just see in his character and the way that he comes across. He's so upbeat, he's so enthusiastic, he's so energetic. And that's what Liam Manning wants to have around the building. He wants to have positive people and people that want the best really for the football club and where they are currently playing their football. And that's a big reason in that. So, Sam, thank you very much for your donation. Thanks very much for your comment. And hopefully I've answered that in the best way. This one's for everybody. I think we've got to jump into Charlton conversation deeper, and we've got a Charlton fan coming on later in Josh. I'm sure he'll go into more conversation around that topic, but Charlton fan 18 has donated. I want to say that's Norwegian currency. I could be wrong. I think that might be.
Not a clue.
I'm going to guess Norwegian.
It's
but
North Korea.
You
Is
sure?
it?
Yeah, because I've had that before.
North Korea. Interesting.
go.
Well, 59 North Korean, and then whichever currency that is coming into. We Charlton
59
have done
knocks,
good
mate.
business.
59
Yeah,
knocks.
I'm a little bit. I'm trying to work out exactly what it is before I start saying it. But there we go. We Charlton have done good business, and Ladapo and Tedic in its time with proper tactical manager and not holding to prove it.
Norwegian, sorry.
It is
I
Norwegian.
said Norwegian. He was convinced it was in North Korea. There we go.
£4.39. It translates to.
Very, very kind of you, Charlton fan 18. Jake, we'll come to you on this one. Charlton, I mean, Ladapo and Tedic will be fantastic. I think Tedic is much closer to completion than Ladapo. They were linked with Ladapo. They are without a manager. They've got, of course, Ben's Fleetwood tomorrow. But in terms of the whole Charlton conversation, we spoke about it on our reflection time, didn't we? And I described it as just really confusing. They had a good summer, and now they haven't got a manager. And I actually think today's business, on the whole, has been very, very promising. If they had a manager and a good start to go with it, you say Charlton are, top of the tree in all departments, but it hasn't quite worked out that way.
Yeah, no, you're starting to get a little bit worried for Charlton off the pitch. I understand that obviously they've had a takeover and Dean Holden successfully sort of dealt with that off the pitch. I thought they were pretty good on the pitch towards the back end of last year at times. I know I went to the Valley and thought they were pretty good. The summer recruitment, it started off with a bit of a bang, didn't it? The likes of Eden and Isted and Jones and Kamara then came in and Alfie May, and you're thinking Charlton are seriously going to be contenders. I mean, I put them third. You boys would have put them pretty high up. I'm pretty sure Gab went big on Charlton this year as well.
Yeah.
And then they had the start they had, and you know what? It's no means to sack a manager after what was it, 5 games. It's a bonkers decision, but it could still prove to be the right one. That's how weird football could be. Charlton could go on and appoint a manager, have an immediate impact, and just ride the momentum from there. So, look, it's difficult to see who they get in, but the business has been great. Personally, if they can bring in Tedic, I think he was at Barnsley last year, was he? Scored a couple of goals there, I seem to remember. Maybe even
It would be a good
one,
signing, I think, by the way. I think Tedic
I have a feeling he scored in the game against Sheffield Wednesday. I might be completely wrong by there.
and us. He scored against us as well.
And
but then,
everyone
you know,
scored
who
against
didn't?
you
You know?
last year, Wardy, mate. Wasn't very difficult, was it?
Did you score against the Sheikh? I'm pretty sure. You might have.
I
the only
did,
person who
actually.
didn't.
I put one in from the halfway line with my big fat forehead. But no, yeah. Charlton are one of those. You can understand why a new ownership model wants to come in and appoint their own man, because you know they want to do things their way. But Dean Holden looked like he had a good thing going on. And yes, the results at the minute weren't showing, but I seem to remember Blackpool, the year they got promoted, had a really poor start and then pretty much dominated the league, you know, 2/3 of the way through and ended up getting promoted. So a poor start doesn't mean a bad manager. So for me, I think Charlton have made the wrong decision, but you know, you never know, do you?
Ben, breaking news.
yes,
Sorry, I'm going to go there as well. Breaking news. Ben's got something on Johnson Clark-Harris, the conversation that started surrounding his future as a Peterborough player. Ben.
Yes, absolutely. And obviously, I think Darren McAntony obviously is a very shrewd businessman, very open as well, which I think obviously Andy Holt's been like similar at Accrington, but Darren McAntony for me is the best in the business at it for you know, letting football fans know about what's going on. And he's obviously let Johnson Clark-Harris, obviously the bid has been accepted from you'd guess a League One football club, and I think that's going to be Bristol Rovers surprisingly, actually, I don't pay for this. It was leaked on Twitter. Joey Barton actually tweeted something on his subscription page on Twitter of 3 prayers, a heart, and then hashtag transfer deadline, something of that. And someone read it as, was the 3 prayers for JCH? Look, it could be me reading into nothing. It could be. But Joey Barton, believe me, I know him from my days. He is.
Is he that cryptic?
Yes, he is. Honestly, Joey Barton is one of the most cleverest bloke you'll ever meet. Honestly, that you don't see it, but he's a very clever. He's been on Question Time. He's just sometimes he doesn't act like a clever.
He's been on Question Time.
That is one of the key ingredients of being a top football manager. By the way, the 3 prayer thing, that could literally mean anything. You literally it could be I love chocolate. I mean, it literally is very, very open in terms of what that could mean. But by the way, we have got Charlie Hayne from One Rovers Logs coming on later. I think Bristol Rovers is the football club that he's most likely going to join. He can tell us more later. But interesting that, like you say, I think having that open nature from the Peterborough owner about basically saying that they have sort of had a bid accepted, or accepted a bid, should I say, rather. That's very, very intriguing and I think really open and positive.
Can I jump in with a direct quote from Darren McAntony, literally posted on Twitter 4 minutes ago? We have given JCH, so Johnson Clark-Harris, permission to speak to a club tonight over a permanent move over to the club and player to agree terms. So, I mean, I know this guy, and Gab, more than welcome for you to jump in on this, because I know you have a strong opinion, I'm sure, an opinion of somewhat on Darren McAntony, but at 9:30 on transfer deadline day to be tweeting something like that, that's clearly something that's in the works and is moving at quite a pace, you would have thought.
Well, do you know what? I think in football this year, I'm sure I remember Man United when they made one of their big signings in the last couple of years. They actually put a tweet out about the situation before the signing was actually official, just to kind of clarify it. Because, and I feel like that was kind of like a groundbreaking moment where information in this day and age travels so quickly that everything is so open that most of the time fans seem to know that a player is going to come into their club before it's actually happened. So I feel like the idea that a chairman would just stay quiet, I don't know. I'm not sure that that necessarily that principle makes sense anymore, just because there's so much information and sometimes misinformation that's kind of flying around. Sometimes actually it makes sense for clubs to just provide a bit of clarity.
I was going to say as well with Johnson Clark Harris, and I could be, I understand we've got lots of Bristol Rovers fans in the live chat. Excuse me. So don't take this the wrong way. I understand he was there before, and he was a very, very well liked character at Bristol Rovers before his move to Peterborough. I'm pretty sure that was the straight move that he made, and he's going to go back there, as we believe. What do we think of it from a player perspective? Nappers, I'll come to you on this. Johnson Clark Harris going from a Peterborough side who might not be in the top 6, but you sort of always presume they're going to be in and around it. Bristol Rovers, who again have got the ambition to, but haven't really had a top 6 finish for a while. What do you sort of see it from a player perspective? Because we're speaking about a player that is a proven goal scorer that could have, gone. I still think Derby County would have been a fantastic destination for him, and somewhere like that. He's gone to Bristol Rovers, which is a fantastic move for them. I'm not taking anything away from them, but what do you sort of see it from his eyes, the player side?
Well, he's been there before, performed there before. He knows the city. He knows the fans. The fans like him. Bristol Rovers is a good place to play football. And if you're like there, they let you know. But obviously, if you hated there, they let you know. So it is like Portsmouth. It really is.
Matty Taylor certainly found that out, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, exactly. And I really think Johnson Clark Harris, I think that you can say that about Bristol Rovers, and I totally agree with you, Jack. But I don't think Bristol Rovers are too far away from being in that top 6, top 8 claim. And I think that all that you need to say to them is, well, we're not, but you're going to be the difference. You're going to be the difference that gets us from a top 12 football club, because I know they're sitting, 17th right now. The table doesn't speak to anything for me until at least 15, 20 matches into the season.
That's for me.
I'm just trying to deflect that my team are bloody second at bottom from league. And I really think that if he can go and score 20 goals for Bristol Rovers, it could be a huge difference. Now, obviously, going back to Fleetwood were in a similar situation to Bristol Rovers. Then they brought Ched Evans and Paddy Madden in, and they finished in the playoffs. And all of a sudden, then you've got 2 strikers there who will go and score 15, 20 goals each in League One. So, they've got goal scorers around them. Collins, McCormack, I really like Sinclair. And they are just lacking that one prolific goal scorer that will score them a few. So if you can go, and also as well, they can get them that slightly bit cheaper, I believe. But if there is a sell-on clause, I'm not sure if that's actually in. But it'd be interesting. I'd like to see him go to Bristol Rovers because I think it would really shake up the League One, merry-go-round.
Just wanted to jump in and say that Peterborough United are at Fratton Park tomorrow, and I would be absolutely delighted if they could get this move over the line.
I wouldn't. We play Bristol Rovers tomorrow. I'd be bloody terrified.
Surely.
I don't think the deadline would allow him to play.
Oh, thank God.
Anyway, speaking of Pompey, I'm delighted to say that we are joined by Mr. Jack Hancock from Hancock Analysis. And as I add him in, I need to make sure that we have enough slots for people to come back in. So there we go. Good evening, mate. Welcome along. Lovely to have you with us. Sadly, all the people that don't want Pompey chat, maybe look away now because we'll get back to that in a minute. Maybe open with your thoughts on Johnson Clark Harris, this revelation we've had in the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, cheers for having me, mate. Unfortunately, unlike with Reece and Pepe, I'm the boring one when it comes to Pompey because there's nothing fun about my work. It's all very analytical and very process. I mean, he's a fantastic player, and he is the type of player that if you are a Bristol Rovers, you bring him in, it's a real statement, and he's a fantastic footballer. He'll score you goals, and we kind of saw it at Fratton Park. Maybe they were just missing a bit of cutting edge. But yeah, cheers for having me, mate. It's gonna be good. Let's get cracking.
We will get cracking. We'll get on to Tino in just a moment. Wardia, I would like to jump on this one, if I may. Charlton fan 18 said thoughts on the Cowley brothers takeover to Charlton. I'm sure Gab will have an opinion on this as well, because I know he's been lucky enough, like myself, to speak to Danny Cowley at length over the last couple of years. It's an interesting one, isn't it? It's one that myself and yourself, Wardy, spoke about yesterday on your video, and that one's come out on his channel, by the way, now. So if you want to go and give that a watch after the stream, then please do so. I was making the point about the kind of Cowley would be able to play up to the community aspect. You go, Charlton, a big club, suffering hard times. He's getting back to where they want to be, buy into the whole idea of a football club. Wardy, you're a little bit more reserved on it, weren't you? Do you want to just, for the people that might not have watched the video, just go into that a little bit?
Yeah, I worry a little bit about expectation. I worry a little bit about the fact that you're bringing in a manager that Charlton's expectation, whether it is right now or it isn't, is to get out of League One. That's what they want to achieve. Now, has Danny Cowley got the CV to suggest he can take a club out of League One? He hasn't. I mean, in his last job, he can do promotion, and we'll speak to Jake about it. He's a fantastic figure at Lincoln City and will be a hero there for probably forever. But in terms of League One and in terms of his last job with that expectation behind him, he failed. And it's a horrible word and it's not a nice word. I could have probably put it better, but it didn't work out. Gab is wanting to speak, I think, there, or that are yawning during my conversation.
I would love to the chance to come back at you a bit on that.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, Gab, you can come back at that now. I just don't. I think expectation-wise, I'm a little bit concerned about it. He went to Huddersfield again. There was an expectation there, didn't quite work out. Pompey, he was backed under quite a few windows. That didn't work out. I don't see a manager in there that's got the not minerals, not bottle, but the ability to deal with the high expectation that could potentially swallow him up at the Valley.
Sure. I think that it's probably the first thing to say. I think, I appreciate how you're not in the conversation for a struggling League One job if the Cowley brothers' last 4 years or so had gone absolutely to plan, because 4 years ago they were the EFL's big next top managerial property. So that's kind of par for the course. But I would say that at Huddersfield, when they were threatening to do what Sunderland did, they kept them up comfortably, I would argue. And at Portsmouth, although I suppose it was ultimately a failure, I do think there was a little bit of bad luck there, because 6 wins in 12 normally gets you into the playoffs in its first season at the back end of 2021. Results elsewhere meant that wasn't quite the case. 73 points the following season could probably get you into the playoffs. Results elsewhere kind of meant that tally fell quite a bit short. And then the following season, Pompey actually started brilliantly. And I think it was 20 points from the first 24 games of last season. And then they had this crazy situation where 4 central midfielders were all absent and 2 right backs, Tommy Lowry in midfield being one of them, which I think was a big factor. And there was this sort of slump of 1 win in 13. But I do think that run is kind of distorting the whole picture of the Cowleys and how good they are, which I don't think is fair, because there's managers who were lauded last season, like Kieran McKenna and Michael Duff, and quite rightly, they did incredible jobs, more than deserve their chance in the Championship this season. They had their best 11s fit. Danny Cowley didn't, and I appreciate that. Yeah, having interviewed him a couple of times, this probably looks like a little bit of favouritism, but I genuinely feel it. I think they're a good management team, and I think this is a good opportunity for Charlton to take them while they're available, where they might not be in future.
So if you're the Charlton owner, sorry, Gab, if you're the Charlton owner, you appoint Danny Cowley tomorrow.
I think he's the best of the options. Yes, I would say people may disagree with me on this, but I would rate him probably above some of the other candidates, including maybe even Darren Moore. I think that they've got huge potential, and I think I think they'll go on to manage in the top 2 leagues.
Go on in, Jakey son. I know you're itching.
Yeah, I mean, I am probably the most in favour of Danny Cowley person here, and there's 2 Pompey fans. I'm well aware of that. He's a massive part of Lincoln City folklore and will be forever. I think you're slightly harsh rewarding what you said on Huddersfield. I think they hadn't got a point after 9 games when they went in, kept them up. They, like Gab said, they were threatening to go back down into League One after being relegated from the Premier League. Kept them. I thought they were really unfairly sacked actually by Huddersfield at the time. They did the job they went in to do. They actually beat Huddersfield that season in the Carabao Cup as well, which is probably what got their attention.
Huddersfield beat Huddersfield.
No, he managed Lincoln, and we beat Huddersfield in the Carabao Cup, which is 3 weeks later they ended up going there in a deal. But yeah, no, I think at Portsmouth, like Gab said, I think it's difficult. Pompey has proved to be to several managers to be a bit of a poison chalice at times. It's difficult to get you guys all on side. I know there's a lot of you, which is probably why there's not so many of us. There's about 6 of us in my garden shed. But no, yeah, I think he did okay for Portsmouth. Like Gab said, there were circumstances that led to him not having his best squad available. Had Danny Cowley got his best players available, I have absolutely no doubt that he would have had Portsmouth in the Championship by now, because that's the sort of manager he is. And if he goes to Charlton, they're a club that needs somebody to go in there and make everybody sing from the same hymn sheet. There's a lot of disconnect at Charlton at the moment between the supporters and the board, and they're not too sure what's going on. I think Danny Cowley would be the perfect candidate. Ben, you're very excited. Go on.
Come on. Fleetwood have tweeted, do not go to bed. Watch this be. Buy your match passes for Fleetwood's trip to
I tell you what.
Which is as well, Ben has just said that Cashin has not travelled with Derby for tomorrow's game due to a late bid from Norwich City. Really interesting that. Of course, Cashin, we spoke earlier about Brighton being in for him. A few clubs, Championship and the Premier League looking at Cashin, quite rightly so. Fantastic start to this season, fantastic player at Derby County. He's not travelled with the squad with Derby tomorrow. Late bid from Norwich City.
Ben, any ideas on what may or may not be going on? Have you got an inkling?
That Edwards from Arsenal.
You think? Okay. And you'd be happy with that, wouldn't you?
Yes, very happy. Then we've done 2. I can kind of settle on that.
What position is he at?
He's like a right winger / right attacking midfielder from what I'm seeing.
Good goal record, yeah. They're 20, 21 and 23.
Yeah.
I'm assuming we're going to have to wait a couple of minutes before the official announcement. So while we do that, I'll bring the conversation back to
20 last year.
Back to Hancock, if we may, on Danny Cowley. I probably know what he's about to say. We all sat there and watched the injuries just dwindle away at the Cowley era, really, Jack. But which side of the fence you on? Are you on the kind of the Jake and Gab where he's a man that's really unlucky, or and in terms of the Charlton job as well, are you back in Wardy was saying perhaps it's just slightly too big for him at this moment in time?
It doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right.
Without going a bit too political, I think he was unlucky, but you could argue he kind of made his own luck, because if like every signing we made, we went injury record, risk of injury. And then, when all the injuries tot up, you can't exactly sit there and say you're shocked. As for Charlton, I don't know. I think the pressure's a bit too big there, and it does feel a bit like a poison chalice to an extent, a bit like Pompey, you could argue. If I was Danny Cowley, which I'm clearly not, and he's a way smarter guy than me, I'd probably wait. I think there'll be better jobs that come up that suit him and Nicky more. And it's a shame it didn't work out at Pompey, because I love them. I think they're utterly fantastic human beings. Maybe tried a bit hard at times with the "This is Portsmouth" every week, but no, I've got the utmost respect for Danny and Nicky, and I wouldn't want them to take the job on a personal note, because I think they can do better, but I just think there's better jobs out there for them.
Gab,
so going forward, Jack.
Oh, sorry, Ben, go on.
I was just going to say, going forward on Jack's point, we spoke about earlier about you signing 14 new players. If Danny Cowley got this squad to a position where you feel he was unlucky, and again, this could be, and there's lots of factors for it. It's a new manager; he wants his own players, but you signed 14 new players. I mean, if this squad under Danny Cowley was so good and so ready and so unlucky, why did you bring in an entire new football club? That's what I'd say. I understand John Messina, as a new manager, wants to play in different ways, but if you want, there's some key players that are under Danny Cowley that aren't there anymore, or if they are, they're certainly down the pecking order. So I come back to Tom and
no, well, I suppose that is there not a suitability aspect there where
that's what I'd say. New manager's important. A new manager's important, and having a different style. But go on, Gab.
No, that's pretty much the point that I was going to make, that John Mourinho, I think, wants to build up. I know Jack's done some great graphics on this. Was it, I want to say like a 3-2-5, or where the holding midfielder drops in and
there's been quite a few. Just on that, actually, on the suitability thing, this is a really good squad. There's a few bits missing, but, everyone wants one more player, right? This is a really good squad. I don't think it suits Danny Cowley at all. This squad would not want to play the type of football that Danny Cowley would want to play. So would he do better with this squad? I'd say probably not. But yeah, especially with John Mourinho as well, it's not that it's less. Well, yeah, it is less direct than Danny Cowley.
Sure.
And there's more patient build up, which at times is hard to watch. Even though I love that kind of football, it is tough to watch at times. Whereas Danny Cowley's was a lot more transitional and back to front quickly. But yeah, there's so many factors.
What do you think's missing then, Jack, for Pompey to just to make that style of football work? Because you've drawn a couple of blanks this season, haven't you?
Kyle Edwards. he's gone to Oxford annoyingly, and I've made a few jokes about it, but Kyle Edwards or someone in that mould, because we're not that we're one-dimensional, but we're just missing that bit of dynamism and that directness up the left, which is slightly holding us back, especially from.
Can Cassini Yengi provide that because he's an inside forward? He can turn off the left.
Possibly, I'm not sure it's quite there with Cassini in terms of that type of profile, but yeah, someone who's just really. But if Pompey, I doubt they will sign anyone today, but if they pluck someone from non-league who's like really raw, really just fearless, that'd be fine. But I think especially from goal kicks where your wingers are Anthony Scully and I don't know, let's say Gavin White, they're not the best 1v1. So when you do choose to go direct up to them, you can't really get much out of them because it's just not their game. And that's a bit of a shame.
That surprises me about Gavin White because I remember watching. I don't know what Jack thinks, but I remember watching from Oxford. He was quite quick and quite direct.
I don't know what's happened there. I think maybe his time he lost a lot of confidence at Cardiff. I think confidence was a massive issue. He lost a lot of confidence at Cardiff because when we had him the first time, he was as fearless, raw, just come from Ireland. He was just absolutely everywhere in terms of goal involvement. He was great with output. We then sold him to Cardiff, and then they went through lots of different managers. I think Warnock signed him. And then lots of different managers fell out of favour. Went out on loan to Hull, I believe, in League One. They won the league. Didn't really get a good go there. Didn't really get going. He joined in January. It's difficult to join a team that end up winning the league in January, isn't it? Getting into that squad. And then, of course, came back to us on loan. Really, really good. He got good assist numbers. But I remember his output being really, really bad. And he had lost that bit of that raw nature, that ability just to take somebody on and be. I'm surprised Pompey never went for Kyle Edwards and also Stanley Mills, who we signed from Everton on loan as well. I'm really surprised. Stanley Mills on loan from Everton is someone who plays on the left-hand side, can play on the right, but play on the left. He in terms of direct, taking someone on, I think Gab mentioned it. I think he tweeted it about this goal against Barnsley. He just ran from the halfway line, just so direct, so forward-thinking. And that is, I think, what Pompey needs. Somebody who doesn't just want to get hold of it and try and maybe play inside or try and invert in that way. Someone who just gets hold of the ball. It sounds really, really... It's not my best analytical piece, I'll be honest. But get hold of the ball and just absolutely dart down the touchline. That's what you need. And then that'll help Colby Bishop. You get the ball in the box.
Sometimes it doesn't need to be too analytical, though. Sometimes it can just be as simple as we're missing someone who's fearless and can just take the ball and just go at people.
Those two are the ones. I'm surprised you didn't do that.
Yeah. I mean, you took one of my favourite managers. You've taken some of my favourite signings. You know, just leave me with something. Is that
we get
too much to
promoted?
ask?
You know, that's just
Yeah.
I tell you what, can I ask?
Yeah, you're seventh. We go up. It's tough, isn't it? Really,
unbeaten but seventh.
Yeah, invincible.
A bigger question though, because we talk about sort of non-league. Do you get someone from non-league? Do you think that that sort of raw directness is now more common from the non-league or lower league scene than maybe it is higher up, where players want to be a bit intricate because that style of football is fashionable higher up?
Oh, definitely. I work with quite a few academy lads, and they're fantastic, but it's a lot more. Not choreographed, but you kind of get my train of thought where. You know, if you get a lad that was poached at Sunday League level and then he went to, you know, like an AFC filed, I don't know, and then, you know, dance around there, you're not going to have the footballing education that allows you to, apart from, you know, a rare few like Taylor O'Kane at Fylde, for example, most will be quite raw, quite physical, quite fearless, because that's the nature of the game down there. You've got there's no point, you know, doing these nice tippy tappy football at National League level if you just get battered by a midfielder immediately. Whereas, you know, there's quite a lot of talent down there that is, you know, raw, fearless and really direct.
Yeah, you sometimes get these players from like the 8th or 9th tier who are just like super quick, like quicker than. And I remember Cheltenham got it was Alex and I they got from the non-league scene, and he was just super rapid. And is you know, sometimes you can find these players from funny parts of the league system.
Yeah, I think maybe that is Tom. Tom disappeared there. I think he has. Can you still hear me? Is that important? Am I the one that's gone, or am I still here?
I can still hear you.
That's all right then. I was going to ask two Nappers. Have we got an update on Fleetwood? Is that a done deal?
Could be announced. There'll be a load.
Okay, sorry, 1 minute.
There'll be a load of transfers announced at 10 o'clock, like there has been 7. So it's normally on the hour or at past the hour, isn't it? So this is my life now for the next 30 seconds or so.
Just scroll through and refresh that. Well, I can tell you, we're not too far away from 10 o'clock. And if we do have a large, I want to find out more about cash in. That's a story that's coming. Of course, remember as well, stay tuned. Johnson Clark Harris, that club has not been confirmed yet. He's not signed for a football club.
Busy.
Where is Johnson Clark Harris?
Should Derby keep him or should they cash in?
Hey!
That is good. That is good. Either Jack, go to Hancock.
That is the bit they'll use in the Football Content Awards when you're up there for your nomination. They'll put that on the screen.
Or they cash in for cash.
I'm here all weekend. Enjoy the Vale.
He's here all weekend. Jack, I hope you don't mind if I kind of steal the show a little bit on this one. I'm aware. Would you believe it? We've got to the point on StreamYard where people can't join because there's 10 people in the studio and therefore whatever. So bear with us. We'll get to our hour of League One, which we want to get to. Maybe might have spoiled it a little bit a moment ago, but I was desperate to get on to this man. And
I think Jake's got to go, by the way.
Jake. Yes, Jake's going to make it easier with trying to get people in.
Is Jake leaving us?
I'll go. It's fine. We're not going to sign anyone, so I'm not worth any bacon.
But we want you to stay, mate. We want you all night.
I'm shattered. I've been doing enrollment.
He can't stay.
He's off. He's had enough. He can no longer stay. So we'll say goodbye to Jake. Thank you.
Bye, Jake. Thank you, Jake. Too much Pompey chat.
Cheers, boys.
See you on T-Lot.
Yes, come and join us for that every Monday morning. Jack, your thoughts on the man himself, the one that we knew was coming for about 3 or 4 weeks, but has finally happened.
There's too many Jacks here.
Yeah,
by too many,
clear this up.
Yeah,
right.
So
I'll go
confused.
for Wardy with Jack Ward, and then
Thanks,
Jack with
cheers.
you. That makes sense, doesn't it?
that makes things way easier.
Makes things way easier.
Hancock, thoughts on Anjorin?
He's very good, isn't he? He's very good at football. But he's just made of like glass, which is, I feel like I say that quite a lot about our signings, but just kind of when I do my research for the players, not that it's a chore sometimes, that you're kind of going through the motions of working out what they're good at, what they're not good at, and doing the research. Whereas for Tino, it was just a joy. I put my feet up. It was great to watch. He's just such a talented individual, and so positive in both his personality, but also his play, which is really nice. And upper championship quality in terms of just that raw talent, whereas the injuries haven't been. It's not even that he's injury prone per se. It's more that they just come at really, really unfortunate times, which has really halted his development. But hopefully, he can sort that out and get a bit lucky.
And just to we'll chat about that later on. You and I wanted to get this in because I saw you put it out on Tuesday night for tomorrow. I know he probably perhaps wouldn't be starting. This is what I went with from a Pompey point of view earlier on today and knocked it together. And I thought, why not? And if you can't see that on your screen, I didn't have time to add sort of names and whatever. If everyone can see that, that's great. If you need to put your glasses on, everyone at home, please do. That was mine. As a starting 11 with your options to come on, this is yours. And that might have changed by now. Do you want to just talk us through it?
I'd probably switch Abu and Lane, but we're really picking hairs there.
Either way.
That's not saying,
I'll tell
is
you
it?
what, Abu Kamara at Stevenage sort of tore Dan Butler a new one a couple of times in that first half, didn't he? So
the thing with Abu is that he's got all the tools to be a fantastic 1v1 dribbler, but he's just not quite got the confidence. And if you can just get him a few games in succession where he's like with Dan Butler, he just absolutely rips him a new one, you've then got a really dangerous player. Unfortunately, he can't really hit the target at all, but I mean, I'm sure that
an inside forward. Do you think, Jack?
I mean, by trade in academy football, he played as a number 9, but he's not that in EFL at the moment. He's more of a. I like him on the right and as a second striker, but kind of for needs must at the moment, I'd have him off the left because the issue with not an issue per se, but with Scully and Ogilvie, they both want to kind of operate in the same areas when they play together. And that doesn't really work because you got Scully picking up in the wrong positions, and then he can't really progress the ball.
Well, Scully, sorry to interrupt, but Scully likes to drive infield, doesn't he? And I feel like Ogilvie, he's not really an over. I mean, he can sort of link up a little bit, but he's not necessarily going to fly beyond Scully, is it? So.
If with Scully, it feels like whenever he's picked the ball up, he can't really affect the game. Because it's quite, from what I can remember anyway. Obviously, I'd have to go back through the footage, but it's quite wide at times, and he's not really got this touch of pace or I don't know. It's just not quite there.
I would have
Whereas-
thought Scully would like to cut inside a lot.
Yeah, well,
That was-
the thing is, right, with Scully, I'd like him to be picking the balls up right in the half space, because then he only needs to take a touch or two, and then he can either play a pass or a shot. Whereas he's picking up areas where he's going to have to take 6, 7, 8 touches, drive inside, and then get a shot off. And by that time, teams that sit so low and so deep in Fratton Park is swamped immediately. Whereas if you can get it with Abu, he'll just go 1v1, especially because you've not got Ogilvy in the overlap that much. Just someone that's like fearless, and maybe he's not that right now, but just someone who has got the tools to go 1v1. But yeah.
So the reason why I brought the graphic up on the screen, and I'll pop up a swapped over Paddy Lane and Abu for you, is where does Anjorin fit into that side would be the question.
In that specific structure, I'd probably, against certain teams, I'd take Morel out and play Robson deeper, because he can do it from what I've seen with his time at City, and then have Anjorin as the 10. But I think if you want the perfect lineup per se, it's more of a 5-2-2-1, a bit like Ipswich played last year, and then you've got Anjorin and Robertson as a double 10s almost. But yeah, in that specific structure, I'd probably have Robertson a bit deeper to help out Pack.
And definitely be nice to see him for half an hour tomorrow for definite. We're going to bring in a man who is going to be delighted tonight. He's a Derby County fan, and he's here with us, and I'm sure we're going to chat about the new arrival in just a moment. Welcome along, mate. Lovely to have you with us. We'll get you in just one moment. Before we do, we must go back to Mr. Fleetwood Town. What on earth is going on? Do we have an announcement?
Yeah, so they just tweeted a picture of that. Never trust a man with 2 first names. So it's not like Carnarvonian Edwards, whatever his name is. Or is it?
He's got 2 first names.
Could be.
Ah, yes. Never thought about that.
What?
We never thought of what it said.
Right, Jack. All right, my head's not working right now.
Do we
I'll
still
take
think it's
it.
this Edwards guy, do we?
Yeah, should be.
Right. Well,
So what was 2 first names about? I don't understand that.
Edwards his first name as well, isn't it?
No, Edwards isn't the first name though. Edward is, but
Edward.
Yeah.
Nappers, what's the name of the player? Is it Edward?
what's the guy's name?
Keon
We have
Edwards.
Right, you're asking the guy that couldn't pronounce
We're asking the Fleetwood fan. We're asking the Fleetwood fan.
Anyway,
I was thinking of like John Joe O'Toole.
Yeah, Edwards isn't really a first name, is it? I mean, if it is, then Fleetwood had an absolute stink with the announcement, because that is pathetic. That's not a good way of
It
using
makes
that.
no sense at all.
Anyway, we'll come back to Fleetwood later on.
I was thinking in the name of like John Joe O'Toole, where he's got like two
Yes.
first names.
JJ
JJ, yeah. Anyway, we'll come back to Fleetwood. We'll come back to Fleetwood shortly. They might eventually announce a signing. They're just dragging this out as long as they can.
Work out
We'll
who
come
this bloke is.
Yeah, we'll come to the Derby County supporter here, which we're very, very happy to have on.
Welcome,
And
Adam. Nice to see you, mate. How
Thanks
are
for
you?
getting me on. I'm good, mate. Very late on in the evening. Hopefully, Cashin
it is.
doesn't leave.
Yes,
So,
we'll come. In fact, let's start with
Go
Cashin,
on.
because you mentioned that now. What is the hearing from your end? We've heard that Norwich City, it could be anyone really. Norwich City are the latest club that have put a bid in. Apparently, is it true? I trust Nappers, but I want to hear it from a Derby fan himself. Is he travelling with the squad or not tomorrow?
Well, from rumours, you can't confirm one of the rumours from the pitch circulating. He didn't travel today.
Okay.
From pictures circulating, but Paul Warne said midweek everybody would be travelling unless something late happened. Obviously, Norwich have lost one of their players at the back. Apparently, Norwich aren't going for Cashin so late on in the deal. But Brighton put 4 million on the table, and that was somewhat accepted, apparently, according to John Percy, who's a pretty trusted source. Tonight, or over the coming weeks, because I know Brighton have been well in for him. But because it's so late on, apparently it's fallen apart. So Cashin won't be going to Brighton as of yet. Apparently they might come back in January, and obviously his contract ends in summer. So
he could still not travel. He could still not travel and also not sign as well for another club.
Yeah,
so that is a possibility. Sorry, Tom.
Sorry to keep coming away from Adam and back to Adam, but Nappers has just made a non-verbal gesture on the screen. But I wanted to.
What are they doing to me? So basically, for anyone in the know, on our bus that goes to away game, obviously the one coach compared to we're Portsmouth, we pick 4,000 away.
I thought it was a minibus actually.
Ah, yeah. There's 40 of us going tomorrow, so that should be good. So you have to do a bit of initiation when you get on that certain bus, and they've done it. And someone's obviously spelt signing as singing, You don't want to hear that. We've already done our initiation. We might have a signing, though. Just announce it, for God's sake. Dude,
We still have not had an announcement from the. So, in all of that, Fleetwood have still not named the player they've signed.
And we still don't know who he is. So this is great. Adam, let's go back to you, mate. Your reaction to Elliot Embleton's arrival on loan this season. What are your thoughts?
I mean, pretty out of the blue, to be honest. It wasn't until this morning that we were linked with him. Seems a decent player, 2-footed, standard League One player, really, who's going to put in a good shift for us, hopefully. Looking forward to it.
Just wanted to kind of link in, if you don't mind. I kind of made the point earlier that I'm a little bit worried. I think he's a good midfielder, very creative, but is he going to get on the ball? Because Paul Warne's side seem to like to play direct, and I'm not sure you've necessarily got that physical presence up top. How have you sort of set up, I guess, is my question. Are you confident you're going to get him on the ball?
I think so. I mean, against Peterborough, Paul Warne changed it to 4 at the back after we went 1-0 down to a 4-2-3-1. Obviously, he completely changed the game, put 4 away before half-time. I think he may come in one of them 2 holding midfield positions, if you almost see. Obviously, Max Bird played further forward. Well, he's out injured now, but he was trying to play further forward. I think he could come on the ball. In terms of playing up top, obviously James Collins isn't really going to get near that squad at the moment with the form the players are in. So
we can't win a header, can he, Collins?
Well, I'm not sure he can get a shot on target at the moment, unfortunately. He's just not in that sort of form. And with Martin Waghorn, I mean, what a player. With him, like just in behind the Connor Washington, I can't really see James Collins.
I'm really surprised you've not gone for Michael Smith from Sheffield Wednesday, because I would have thought that would have made loads of sense.
I think he was touted a week ago about coming in to Derby, but then obviously rumours being rumours, probably nothing to it. But at the moment, I think our strike force is pretty solid at the moment. Obviously, we heard the Johnson, Clark, Harris rumours, but as they were said yesterday, rumours to Derby.
Who in your attacking options, though, Adam, are going to win an aerial duel? Because that's the issue that I have with this Derby squad. I don't think Waggy's going to do it. Great finisher, though he.
I'm not sure that we're going to play much direct based off the Peterborough win, in my opinion. Obviously, much of the football was played along the floor, coming out wide, and then obviously the low cross in by Thompson, which obviously fell to Waghorn. I'm not sure that we're looking for that aerial presence that many people thought we'd go for. I think maybe the 3 and behind will do a lot of the footwork in terms of scoring the goals, like we saw against Peterborough. I mean, I hope we continue like we did after Peterborough.
Sorry to jump in, gentlemen. Jack, we've got another donation.
What? Sorry, I didn't even. We do indeed. I'm here for this lineup. That is, I believe, referring to the Pompey lineup that was put up and his. Is that right?
I think it might be lineup in general is in the panel.
Oh, right. This is a different lineup. We've got lineups everywhere.
Shout out to HC. He's a fantastic follower on Twitter, by the way, and an even better person.
We do see him.
Great guy.
Yeah, I do see him, and we've sort of got a real. I'm not going to call it a cult because that might be too far, but it's definitely a group of analysts that have been doing fantastic stuff over the summer.
It's a bit like a cult.
It was like a cult, but he's doing a fantastic job along with Hancock Analysis, and definitely going to give them both a follow. I said lineup. I mean, there's lineups everywhere. We've got Pompey lineups, we've got Derby lineups, and now we've got a fantastic lineup with a gentleman on the screen right now. I would sort of say, so to clarify, have Derby done their striker business completely now? And are you disappointed, Adam, that there isn't another one?
I think the only way Derby were going to bring in another striker was if James Collins left. And the only link for any club with James Collins was Shrewsbury. And that was quite a while ago now. So I think that put off any other striker options. Obviously, we would link with Johnson, Clark, Harris, as well as seemingly everyone in this division was for a long time. But obviously, that was dispelled yesterday and Derby on in the race for him. And to be honest, I'm pretty happy with the strikers that we've got. Obviously, John Jules is coming from Arsenal. But it's just about finding the right formation with the players we've got.
I'll jump in if you don't mind. Just go through a couple more of the comments as well. Certain Napper's mum is still here, saying the live stream's going great. Keep up the hard work. Very much appreciate it. MK22D said Anjorin hat-trick tomorrow. Might be wishful thinking, but I would absolutely love to see nothing more. HC was referring to the panel, so it's very comment. Absolutely no need to do the donation. And I think by the sounds of it, HC might be one to have on the Jack Ward Football podcast or Fournilwrittenalloverit in the future. So very much looking forward to that. Welcome to the rest of you. Thank you for being with us. I've just seen I love this man with all my heart. I remember watching his videos years ago. He'd go, all right, treacles, when Barnet were playing Pompey. Sorry, he swore then. Brilliant fun. So thank you so much for being with us, Loudmouth. Great to see you, mate. And yeah, great to have you in the chat. Do we have an update, Ben, please? Because it's now called.
No, I've not. I've been watching the Fleetwood account as well. There's
This
nothing.
is great.
What's
this is
going
the drama.
on?
This is Ryan Hardy 2.0.
It
This is another one.
I'm sorry, it's an outgoing.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
You've got to remember, it's got the cough
Jack
before. The little
Marriot's
cough.
off to Oxford. Jack Marriot's
Can you
gone.
imagine? Although we haven't actually had confirmation yet that. I think Andy Moon did sort of confirm with Pompey, but I guess we are still.
It's Fletcher first name. It could be Stephen Fletcher.
Yeah,
Not an obvious. Not to the point that you'd make a whole content about it.
No, we've signed
What?
Xavier Simons.
What? No, you haven't. No, you haven't. Have you? Well, who?
From Hull.
What? I thought. To be honest, that sounds like someone that went to PSG. Am I making that up as well? It sounded like someone that went.
No word of a lie. I saw that article before when I was scrolling, and the post got deleted about 9 o'clock. So yeah,
That should have
A
been
loan deal. It's a loan deal, and it's come out of the blue. Would you say? Simons becomes our latest recruit. Gab, anything on him?
Yeah, I seem to remember chatting to. He featured for the whole first team. I'm pretty sure. I've chatted to Ant Northgraves about him, and he seems to be quite highly rated there. So I think that could be quite an exciting addition, and with Kabongo to Shimanga as well. Hopefully he can find some goal, because at Peterborough he's behind Jonathan Clark-Harris all the time, wasn't he? And only coming off the bench and things like that. So hopefully with your lot, Nappers, he can become that regular starter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Napper's thoughts on that? Napper general thoughts on that?
It's different. Obviously, that we've had players from Hull before. Obviously, Dan Batty was one. Obviously, he's gone to York now. Did well for us for a bit as well. So yeah, I'm all for it. We needed another midfielder in through the door. I said that. So
yes, I
just wonder if Fleetwood will put you can go to bed now, because I wish he'd not leave it as late, especially when you got a 5 o'clock alarm tomorrow and you're kind of thinking, just get it done nice and early, lads. But no, that's not in Fleetwood style.
So Edwards is off. Is that? Can we
I don't know. It might be it might be not.
If you get Edwards in as well, you sort of go for a deadline day. You said so. We should break the 4-4 a little bit. We have a group chat for T-Lop, and you said before that. Well, it looked as though we asked you about players coming in, and you sort of said there was no links at the start of the day. You could end up the window with 3 players, which I think is, to be fair, you've had a catastrophic start to the season, but in the end, it could be a pretty good window.
Yeah, Hull fans are saying here, why have we let him go? I can't understand that. There's another comment here saying like it's a class signing for League One level, but I sometimes don't buy into all that, because I've seen that about certain players that we signed, and they've been not very good, and some players, unlucky, why have you got him, and they've been good. So different players are good at different clubs. So it's going to be interesting to see if we do sign any more.
We'll get some, speaking of any more, we'll get some more League One voices on the panel for you in just a moment. Before we do so, a big thank you to Gaz, who's donated us $10. He said, keep up the great work, gents. You're a credit to your clubs and League One bands to play at Pompey. So thank you very much for that, mate. And looking forward to having you back on the channel very soon and seeing you very soon. It's just coming up to 10:20. Good evening to you all. Welcome along to Transfer Deadline Day live across Fournilwrittenalloverit and the Jack Ward Football Podcast. We are not going to add one League One voice. We're going to add 2 to the conversation now. We're absolutely delighted to welcome in Josh, who's a Charlton fan, and we'll also have Matty join us as well, who Cheltenham have been relatively busy recently as well. So looking forward to getting into the conversation with him. First, Josh, I think the obvious place to start will be the managerial hunt. We chatted about Danny Cowley earlier on in the stream. I'm not sure if you were here to hear our conversation on that. What's the general state of play at the moment with Charlton and the next manager incoming?
Difficult question. I know as much as the next man does, to be honest. From what we've known, we've got Cowley, Appleton, sort of the main 2 that have come out and said that, not that we know, definitely been interviews. We know Darren Moore's on the list as well. I don't know whether he's had an interview yet, but one that seems quite popular with fans is Lee Bowyer. Obviously, I'm not that keen on him coming back. I think that's one that you leave in the past. He had his time with us. It's the same with Chris Powell as well. I think we shouldn't be taking a step backwards to go forwards. I quite like the look of Appleton personally, but we're just going to have to wait and see. It seems like this is every 6 months we've got a new manager. So at this point, I really don't mind who comes in as long as they get results.
I mean, just to jump in there, I mean, I agree with you that I can see why you'd say let's leave Chris Powell and Lee Bowyer in the past. But I do think it's kind of worth acknowledging that, like, what Chris Powell and Lee Bowyer both had in times of massive adversity and question marks over the ownership of the club is that ability to just kind of bring the club together. And those have been the only times you've kind of had any sort of success. And for me, I would kind of look at that from a Charlton point of view and say, we've still got a little bit of ambiguity or uncertainty over the ownership at the moment. We're not, even though SE7 partners have local sort of connections, they've been a little bit quiet, so we're not 100% sure how good they're going to be. You want someone who can kind of bring the club together, someone who's got good people skills, who handles the media and treats fans well. I would think that's probably the lesson from the Chris Powell and the Lee Bowyer eras.
Yeah, definitely. I think Bowyer would be good in a way, but the issue with bringing these managers back is if it fails, then those memories are gone. And I think that's one thing that a lot of fans feel the same way. It's like with every single summer transfer window, we seem to want Lyle Taylor back, and the way that he left us, I don't understand that either. So I think we forget how poorly we ended with Bowyer. Powell should have never been sacked, really. So, you know, you weigh them up. I wouldn't be opposed to Bowyer coming back in, but it's just if it doesn't work out, then 2018-19 sort of just goes further and further back into the memories.
Is there a world in which Jason Pearce could be the next Chris Powell or Lee Bowyer?
I'm not sure he's ready yet. Obviously, it's his first time. He's still young. You know, it could happen. We don't know yet. If he starts picking up results and we can't find the right suited of manager in, then why not give him a go? I've always been a fan. Like when Johnny Jackson started getting results, I think that was one thing where Adkins lost the dressing room completely. Jackson came in and sort of got them all going, and I feel like Pearce will do the same. So it's see how long he's in the job first before I even think about anything like that. But yeah, I don't think he's ready yet.
Go on, Morty.
I was going to just say a little bit breaking news away from Charlton. A source that has been sort of around the nose a little bit over the summer. Clark Harris, it pretty much confirmed it is Bristol Rovers, the football club he's speaking to. Some very, very late stuff. And if this gets done, 40 minutes, it's not going to, it's going to be a quick deal to get done. Freddie the Dapo, apparently Joe Gelhardt to Leeds United is close, from Leeds to Ipswich, very close to happening. Freddie the Dapo, that would make him available. We're hearing then Freddie the Dapo then gone loan to Peterborough. That would be the Peterborough replacement, because we also heard as well, of course, I think earlier Tashmanga going to Fleetwood, everyone was sort of convinced that was meaning that Clark Harris would stay. That was the striker that would go. Clark Harris was definitely going to stay. Of course, now if they get rid of both of those, who is going to be that main striker? Who's going to be the player that comes in and is that number 9 going forward? It looks as though Freddie Ladapo is on the list as somebody that could come in and replace them. That's just coming in now. That would be crazy. They've got, like I say, just over half an hour to get it done. Sorry to interrupt the Charlton chat, but I think that is sort of relevant.
Right.
To sort of
so much still to come, isn't there, before 11 o'clock? So stick with us here on Transfer Deadline Day, and we'll
Clark
try
Harris
and
saga continues. That is
yes, absolutely. We'll try and bring as much of it too as we possibly can. Josh, I wonder if we can get on. We've spoken about the managerial switch around. What have you made from a player's perspective, incomings in terms of transfers there? Because you're still doing business while there's no one at the helm, really, aren't you?
I think it's a difficult one, because these are definitely, when we've now got director of football running it all in Andy Scott, and now we've got someone to point the blame at if it all goes wrong. So I'm hoping some of the signings that have come through today, the Udinese centre back, I cannot remember his name now, but he looks quite good. You know, he comes with quite a bit of experience for the age as well. Obviously training for a year with Udinese's first team and getting a couple of appearances there. And as I did tweet out, and I'm sorry, Ben, but I did put he's gone from playing Juventus to Fleetwood. So quite a big difference, but he looks quite comfortable, and I'm looking forward to
I'd say it's an upgrade, really.
Some might say, yeah. But I'm very happy with the business we've had. I think it went a bit quiet, and suddenly we've all gone all out on deadline day, and it feels like we have gone a bit panic buys, but they've all been quite good signings. Happy with both Watsons coming in. I think it's all covering areas that we needed to cover, especially with a few injuries in the team, especially in midfield. And we've got rid of a Deadwood player and like DJ as well. I'm hoping Charlie Kirk goes before 11 o'clock as well. That would be the dream. And obviously McGrandles can't leave because he's injured now. But we wanted to get rid of a few of the Deadwood. We've replaced in the areas that we needed to. And, you know, the likes of Kamara and May and I said when they came in, you know, it looked like we were going to get off to a flying start, but didn't work out so far.
I mean, what I can hear, just going back to the manager search, what I can kind of hear on the grapevine is that Andy Scott, who's technical director, isn't necessarily overly preoccupied with the aesthetics with this next appointment, and will probably just want someone who can kind of get the job done. And you've been looking at a few managers from the lower leagues as well, the likes of Dave Challoner and John Brady. I suppose I'm just wondering what your feeling is on that. Do you sort of welcome a bit of a pragmatist, someone who's quite adaptable and is able to work with quite an imbalanced squad as it seems to be at the moment? Or do you feel like you're kind of missing maybe a bit more of a vision for Charlton, and Charlton need a bit more of a defined style of play?
It's a good question. I think we need to find the style of play that suits us. So as I said earlier, I'm not too fussed on who comes in. You know, if they get results, so it was like when Challoner was linked and, you know, all the rumours that it was done. But, you know, I wouldn't have been too disappointed with that appointment. I think we need someone in there that can coach the team properly, if that makes sense. Like, not a manager sort of head. I think a head coach would be the sort of role that we're looking for in a way. I think you need someone that can just help that squad out and help them get results, because it's something that we haven't been able to do the last few seasons.
Who's the dream appointment?
Is style important to you? What do you think? Sorry, just one more.
Yeah, go for Gab's question first.
It depends. It depends who we're playing. Like with Holden, it seemed like we went from playing quite, you know, possession-based football to suddenly direct and playing it long. And when you've got Alfie May up front by himself, especially at the start, we had him up there by himself. It was very, very frustrating because, let's be honest, he's not the tallest of players. And I know Matt's laughing in the corner there. He needs someone to play off of. He needs to be able to have that other strike partner with him. And I think hopefully he gets that with Tedic coming in and when Lee Burn's back from injury as well. But for now, I think we've just got to make sure that someone knows how to get the best out of the best players in the squad.
You just mentioned Matt there. We haven't actually had a chance to speak to Matt yet. So good evening to you, mate. And don't worry, I'm sure Hancock will have spotted the shirt in the top right-hand corner of your screen there as well. So delighted you managed to get that one involved. Welcome along, mate. You've been busy boys in Cheltenhamshire in the last couple of hours and over the last, I certainly know a name that stood out to me was the lad from Arsenal that signed on loan, and it looks like Cheltenham is the place that he's ended up. There was obviously the extent to which there was Pompey interest, we don't know. We reckon Cambridge might have been in there for that deal as well. How pleased are you with the business you've managed to do this transfer window?
I think on the whole we've filled a lot of gaps that were definitely opened up after last season, but I think one thing that has to be talked about, we've been really unlucky with injuries. I mean, so far this season, we've been an absolute hospital. You know, we've had 3 key midfield injuries. One of our strikers out long-term injured. And, you know, this summer we've brought in Liam Smith as a right wing back and Luciano Doria Henry as a right wing back. Both look like they're injured now. So we've had to bring in another one today, which is absolutely fantastic in typical Cheltenham fashion. So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but everyone seems to be getting injured, which isn't ideal. I think a lot of our fans have said they're unhappy with the business. I don't think I'm unhappy with the business. I just think we've had very unfortunate circumstances that's kind of overshadowed it. I think we've definitely made some good signings. Of course, bringing Luke Southwood back was absolutely huge for us because, I mean, we're in a bad position now. We would have been even worse off if we didn't have Luke Southwood in goal for these games so far. Rob Street, I think, will do well for us. It's just about getting players up to full fitness now after injuries, to be honest. And then I think hopefully we'll start to see the success of a lot of these signings. But the ones that have come in today, we'll have to wait and see. And hopefully they can help us achieve our first goal, which still hasn't come. So fantastic.
Do you know what, Matt? I think the kind of the obvious thing to say at this stage is Cheltenham miss Alfie May because he scored 20 and 23 league goals, and when he haven't scored yet, that's kind of the obvious conclusion. But he brings brilliant link-up play as well, so obviously you're going to miss that. But from what I can see, from what I've seen of Cheltenham so far, there's definitely a problem sort of linking midfield and attack. Whether that's Will Ferry started the season injured, and then James Olinka got injured. You brought in this lad from Brighton. Hopefully he can fix that. But Aidan Keener and Rob Stewart seem to be a long way away from the midfield. And I guess that's the gap that you've got to try and close.
Yeah, 100%. I think you make a very valid point. But as a Charlton fan, I feel like a lot of people don't see this. With the way we're playing at the moment, we seem to completely bypass our midfield. This season, we've played a lot of long ball. We've absolutely abused the wings. And the three in midfield don't get a look in. Pompey away, a prime example of that. And I think that's why we probably didn't win the game, because we still had chances. I think we still had 11 shots or something like that. But in so many games this season, the midfield three has barely got on the ball. We've barely managed to string passes together and get those chances. And like you say, the link between midfield and attack, I don't think it's necessarily the link. I think it's the midfield being in the game at all, to be perfectly honest. I think we need to establish a style of play.
Sure. And well, just to jump in on that, just to kind of add to your point, in the game against Northampton, who do you have? Curtis Thompson, Elliot Bonds, and who's the other? Liam Sercombe in midfield. Neither of that, I actually quite like each of those as an individual, but as a sort of equilibrium, you're really missing a spark in there. I mean, hopefully the lad from Brighton can be that, because you definitely need something different.
I'd like to say as well, bring in Nappers. Sorry, Matt, carry on. Sorry.
No, go on.
I was going to say...
no, that's all right, go on.
You lost Hancock, by the way.
Yes, he's going to swap in for our new guest at past.
Oh, I wanted to ask him one more question. It's all right, don't worry.
Message him later, I'm sure he'll reply.
I'll message him.
I'll say to Ben, Link is carrying on with the Cheltenham conversation. Ben made a really good point on T-Lock the other week about Cheltenham staying in games, and about even though Cheltenham haven't scored a goal, even though they haven't yet won a game, we sort of easily could look at those results and look at some of the very frustrating results. And of course, Matt is obviously disappointed with the start of the season. But, Ben, you made the point that the games are tight. Other than the game against Bolton, the games are very tight. And there's still a chance that, you start scoring. I know it's very, very simplistic, but you score a couple of goals and the whole look to start the season and the rest of the season does look very different.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. But I think it's kind of a bit like the way Fleetwood played last year. They're kind of playing not to lose games at the moment rather than to win games, in my eyes, from what I've seen of them so far. And that's kind of basically being solid, being hard to play through, and kind of thinking, well, we need to keep a clean sheet before going to score a goal, which is all well and good. And I do think clean sheets will come for Cheltenham. I really do. I think they've got enough experience, enough quality to do so, but they need to start scoring goals, because otherwise they're going to, they don't need points, they need 3 points at a time here. So, yeah, I think obviously it's been a tough start. You've got to remember that they played Bolton, they played Reading, they played, Portsmouth in there. So it's not exactly been an easy start, let's be honest with you. A couple of defeats, where you maybe expect them to do a little bit better in there as well. But it's been a tough start for Cheltenham, and I do think fortunes will start to turn. It's a tough game tomorrow for them, which is going to be tough against Barnsley. But I do think fortunes will start to turn. As soon as they score one, I think they'll get up and running.
We've got some Peterborough news as well, I believe.
Yes.
We have a striker incoming at the Posh. Ben, what can you tell us?
Yes, Jacob. I think it's Jacob, the lad from Swindon, from what I'm seeing now. Also, by the way, Fleetwood are done for the night. That's just popped on my feed. But yeah, they've just signed a forward, Peterborough, apparently, as well, from what I've seen on my Twitter feed. I've not been able to renew this time, but I think it's a lad from Swindon.
Yes.
How does that change the Clark Harris saga now? I mean, this is another striker coming in. Maybe the story about Ladapo is just one that, it is a player that we know is available on loan, we believe, and that sort of fits the bill. They need a striker. It's not going to be anybody else but Peterborough. They've signed a striker now, the young lad from Swindon. I'll be honest with you, I don't know a lot about him. We'll bring Gab on it in just a second. But does that sort of, is that the Johnson Clark Harris thing? Definitely, he's on his way out. That could be the lad that's just gone.
Could be a red herring, couldn't it?
Yeah, that could be anything. But it is a striker.
Jacob
and remember, Posh have lost 2 strikers in today. We believe, or definitely one, potentially a second. This is only one through the door. Interested to see how that develops. Gab, can you tell us more about Jacob Wakeling?
Yeah, he can play as an inside forward on the right, or he can play possibly down the middle. I think Peterborough seem to be wanting to go for this sort of young and hungry approach this season, so Wakeling certainly fits into that. I think he's really quick, still a little bit raw. Didn't have a perfect season last year at Swindon by any means, but certainly did a lot of development. Peterborough will be hoping they can build on that. I'd be surprised if he's starting every game for them, but maybe Ferguson will want to kind of ease into the squad, bring off the bench a few times, and yeah, I think that's the plan for him.
So someone else to ease into this squad on your screen is Mr. Taylor Carrington from Barnsley on Tour, who will be joining us in a moment. And I'm delighted to say that Charlie will be joining us very shortly for all the latest on the Johnson, Clark, Harris saga. Taylor, good evening, mate. Welcome along. Lovely to have you with us. We've got, I don't know how many different sets of League One fans we've got in now, but it's kicking on. Gab, I think a little bit of a break in the 4-4. I don't actually think you are a League One fan technically, are you? I know you're a fan of League
City.
One.
Thankfully not.
Thankfully he's not. So Taylor, welcome. Thank you for your company, mate. We've chatted at length about Barnsley's transfer window off camera. There was one name that we picked out was that you're going to talk about John McAtee to us. Just firstly, overall, what have you made of your business? Because plenty of outgoings, but some incomings to note as well.
Well, yeah. Firstly, thanks for having me on. Good to see you all. Few signings through the door recently. We've made quite a lot of non-league signings this summer. You know, we don't like to splash the cash in that sense. Obviously, John McAtee, signed him on loan from Luton. He was at Grimsby for a few years. I've watched him quite a few times playing in League Two, especially the year they got promoted from National League. So he's definitely got something about him. Came on against Wigan the other day, scored in his debut. So he started off with a good impression. We obviously yesterday rejected a bid for Liam Kitching for $4 million, which is pretty hefty. And then recently, there's rumours that he's on his way to Coventry now to sign for around $5 million. So that could be in the making.
Do you watch his defending against Oxford the other week? $5 million.
I did, mate. Yeah, I did. And then we've also seen links that we're in. Might be signing Sam Cosgrove. So hopefully he can come through the door, bolster that attacking option, then it won't be a too bad window overall, I reckon.
Good man. Wardy, we've had plenty of conversations about Barnsley over the last couple of weeks, haven't we? What's your take on everything there at the moment? Because it's a bit of a cloudy picture. We're obviously there at the playoff final last season. Nice to see. Obviously, we spent the day with Nappers and we saw Taylor outside, and that was obviously a fantastic day in the build-up. Wasn't to be for Barnsley, and we actually said at the time I thought they were minutes away from Championship football. I really did. It could have really swung either way for me, and Ben was saying that Barnsley were the better side that day. Since then, tricky summer. The loss of the manager, of course, is a big one, and there's a certain Mads Andersen that you had a lot of love for this season that's no longer last season. Sorry, that's no longer playing there this season.
Yeah, I described them after the game the other week against them as unrecognisable to the team that we saw at Wembley. And maybe I was slightly harsh on that, maybe slightly reactionary, but I said what I saw. They weren't the same side. And you have to take into consideration it's a new manager. There's some very key figures and very key players that are no longer part of that football club. And that is important. I thought, like you say, the fact that Kitchen's gone for $5 million after, 2 weeks of, the defending, and I wouldn't even just blame him. I think defensively, they were really, really all over the shop going forward. They scored a goal, but did lack an identity. I wasn't quite sure what Barnsley were trying to do. I don't think the players knew exactly what Barnsley were trying to do. It was can we go direct, but not really have the players to sort of really do it effectively. A lot of wayward long balls. There's some clear quality in that side, and I think you sort of reflect on it and go, they needed that result against Wigan. They really, really did. That's going to sort of settle a few things now. That's going to sort of put a little bit of, it would be concern to bay for at least a week, but try and use that as a bit of a momentum and a bit of a rhythm to now go on and get results. Because, like you say, I could not see that side that played against us beating Wigan by 2-0. But fair play to them. James McAtee stepped up and was fantastic. And you look at now the intention with Barnsley is to now get a run going. Really get it right. I don't know about you, Taylor, but I think you look at the performance against Wigan and the performance against Oxford. I know red card for Wigan was a bit of a key sway in that, but at the same time, they were two very different performances.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, the red card helped us out massively. Before the game, Wigan were in great form, and none of us fans were really confident after the back-to-back 3-1 home defeats to you boys, Oxford and Peterborough. Like you say, we don't look the team we were last year, and we're building with quite a lot of new faces and obviously a new gaffer. So the win against Wigan definitely puts confidence into us going into September. Signed a few players, and hopefully we can build on it and get a bit of run going, because at the moment it just seems a bit all over the place and the manager doesn't really know his best starting 11. So hopefully now with John McAtee coming in, and obviously we started off with a 7-0 win, which you won't believe, to be honest, but gone quite badly downhill since then. But the Wigan win hopefully can stabilise us and we can push on starting with tomorrow.
We jump back to a bit of Charlton news. Josh, I believe you have an incoming to tell us about, mate.
I think it's Tedic. We haven't fully announced it yet.
Oh, you haven't? It's not fully announced yet?
It's just been who fancies a late night round of catchphrase then. So we're just waiting for the official Tedic. But yeah, from everything I've seen today, I'm assuming it'll be Tedic coming in.
Okay, lovely. That's good to see. Ben, are we reckon that Fleetwood is done for the night, or are we still sitting here?
I think so. Maybe not. The media guy, I like to tease. He just put a picture of his food up on Twitter, which is, kind of made me hungry. And I'm not hungry actually, but no, I think we're done for the night. Unless they're signing Patrick Berger on loan, I think we're done for the night.
Good man. And Ben's got an early start in the morning. We're delighted he's still here with us. Just a little bit of Pompey related news, if I may. Sorry to go back. Now, unlikely that yeah, I know it's there it is. It's unlikely that Denver Hume will be leaving the football club now, according to Pompey News' Neil Allen. So not too long left to go of the window, of course. And if I believe if it was to be done, it would have been done way before now, to be honest. And Denver Hume's perhaps just sitting tight. I believe, though, to get on to news that is actually happening, we do now have that announcement of Tedic, I believe.
Great announcement video, by the way. Fantastic announcement video if you get a chance. It's the catchphrase, and then it's got Ted and someone doing an itch.
Nice. Like that. We'll take it. Adam, can I come back to you briefly, mate, if I may? Just on we had a bit of we'll call it a heated argument on T-Lop with regards to Paul Warne and his kind of situation at Derby County. I know you boys discuss it loads on your podcast, and you're probably sick to the back teeth of having to talk about it. But from mine, and I think it was mine and Wardy's point of view, I don't know where Napper stood on it, but I can't remember. But I know Jake was along the lines of it's not quite the right fit for Derby County, and I went big before the season to say that Paul Warne has got this group of players and he's these incomings that you could literally roll off the tongue, and it is literally the ideal League One transfer window in my eyes, at least. Where is the Derby County fan base on Paul Warne right now? Because it's obviously not been the start that you would have wanted. A little bit of I actually gave him manager of the weekend last weekend as a result of your win at Peterborough, and then perhaps a little look at the week before. I know it's Fleetwood Town, but it's a game that looked a lot tighter than the scoreline suggested, certainly from what we heard from Nappers. So where is the Derby County fan base on Paul Warne? Because I think, like Pompey, it's a place that hasn't got an awful lot of patience.
Oh, no, certainly not. Certainly not at all. After the first couple of match days, obviously losing to Wigan, had a decent pre-season. But I think Derby fans they're a little bit short-tempered when it came to them opening 2 games. And to be fair, understandably so, because we played so poorly and the new signings didn't really click when they'd looked like they were all right. Now, probably after that Peterborough game, that's the best Paul Warne football I've ever seen Derby County play since last season included too. The way he played against Peterborough was outstanding. But I think after this transfer, I think a lot of people are fairly content. Obviously, he signed some of his previous players, which you knew Paul Warne would do all day long. He likes players that he knows. And I think he's really gone for attitude over big names, which fair enough for me. I mean, if we play like we did against Peterborough, I don't think there's a game in this league that we can't really win. A big statement.
You know what, though? I also feel like you mentioned that word, attitude. I do sometimes feel as well with Paul Warne. He's so humble and he's so able to sort of be vulnerable and galvanise people. I think that can be a real strength in some situations. I think it was broadly at Rotherham. I think it can be a weakness sometimes as well, because I think when you're managing a club with a fan base that is as expectant as Derby County's and rather so, I do think that can maybe damage confidence a little bit, or I think it can frustrate people at times. So I think that's a double-edged sword, you know.
I think maybe so, but then Martin Waghorn obviously scored a hat-trick. I don't even talk about Martin Waghorn even more than what I have done. But Martin Waghorn came out and said maybe he wouldn't have taken some of them opportunities. He wouldn't have if Paul Warren hadn't put the confidence in him. I mean, this is Martin Waghorn's second spell at Derby. I can tell you he's not the same player than what he was in the first spell. We had him in the Championship, I think.
Yeah, but it's League One. It's a different level, isn't it?
It is League One, but Martin Waghorn was struggling in the Championship for a while when he was there at the back end with us. I thought he missed countless opportunities in that final season with us to put balls in the back of the net, and he's come back. And Martin Waghorn wasn't pulling off those sort of finishes that he was when he was with us in the Championship. And he looked very cool, calm and collected in front of goal. And I mean, what player gets signed off a testimonial match and then scores a hat-trick? That's got to be a first for something.
Absolutely. We have got Charlie to come in and join us, and I think it's maybe a really nice place to end the stream, actually, in terms of the ongoing story. With Ben, we've got some Port Vale news by the sounds of it.
Yes, Loft. He looks to be going to Port Vale, looks to be having a medical right now. Just seen that on twitter.com or x.com as it's known these days. I think that's a great signing for Port Vale. Obviously, there's been some news about outgoings, obviously rumours about Ellis Harrison leaving the football club, but they're very stacked in that forward area now, Port Vale, aren't they? I'm really impressed with kind of the options they've got in that forward area. You know, your Wilsons, your Harrison. He's stayed another day, and now Ryan Loft, who I thought was impressive last year, at key times for them. So that obviously would fit the bill for Johnson Clark Harris going to Port Vale. This transfer merry-go-round carries on going, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Gab, can I just say thank you so much for being so generous with your time tonight, mate. Really appreciate it. It's been fascinating. Can I do one more interesting thing? And I think we'll probably do this towards the end of the show. You've got several League One fans here tonight. I was wondering if we could maybe have a score prediction per game for each of our games this weekend before you go. So we'll go with Pompey Peterborough, and then we'll go for Charlton Fleetwood. This is trying to test my knowledge if I know which round of League One fixtures are on this weekend.
Oxford Port Vale.
We've got Oxford Port Vale. Let's start with those three, Gab, if you could quick fire the score predictions for us.
So Pompey Peterborough. Sorry, can you repeat those? I thought there was someone.
Pompey Peterborough this weekend, and then we've got Charlton Fleetwood, and then it's not Lincoln Oxford, is it? That's next weekend. Is it Port Vale, Ben? Jackson?
Yeah, Port Vale, Oxford.
Port Vale. So they got Port Vale.
Okay, so who are Pompey playing?
Peterborough.
Peterborough. Okay, there we go. Right, so Pompey Peterborough. I'm going to say 2-0 to Pompey.
Lovely. Port Vale, Oxford. Port Vale, sorry.
Port Vale, Oxford. I think will be 1-1.
And Charlton Fleetwood. Brilliant.
And Charlton Fleetwood, I think it'll be the Jason Pearce effect as caretaker. I reckon they're going to win 2-0.
Nice. That knocks out one of them. And, two of us, actually. Ben and Josh. Big one for you, Gab. Bolton Derby.
3-0 to Bolton.
And then, would you believe it, Cheltenham against Barnsley. Again, another. So we've got two derbies in the transfer deadline day stream this evening. What are we going to go for? Are you going to upset Matt or upset Taylor, Gab? What are you going to go for?
I think that'll be 3-1 to Barnsley.
Okay, and
we're going to score a goal! Yes! Oh my God, I love it.
Excellent. Brilliant. Gab, it's been brilliant, mate. Thank you so much for all your insight and your conversation tonight. And thanks for being so generous with your time. Really appreciate it.
Sorry as well. We've got some. Thank you very much, Gab. Thank you very much.
Go on.
I've got some breaking news. Where is Jake? Get Jake back on the phone. Michael Hornton, who is a writer, I believe, is a presenter, commentator for Lincoln. He's just tweeted, "Are you still up? Should be some news for you soon of an attacking. Soon for you, soon of an attack." Should be some news for you soon.
You read that out brilliantly, Waldy. That was fantastically
anyway,
done.
Michael Hornton, who is a Lincoln City correspondent, has said that apparently there is a Lincoln City, I guess, movement. I wouldn't want to say incoming because, as we know, just because you can stay up right to the end doesn't mean it's an incoming, as we learned harshly in January. But I can tell you that Jake may have, he said the dream signing was completely and utterly over. Well, potentially it's not. We've got 10 minutes, 12 minutes until the window. Now coming up to 11 minutes until the window does completely shut. But Lincoln City apparently still open. Sorry?
Been confirmed, apparently.
Lincoln City's have.
No, but Clark Harris.
And
Is it?
right on cue, the man that we wanted for just such a moment.
No, it hasn't. Sorry.
Come on,
And that's
we
a
don't-
chat. Debated by the chat.
We
We
can also
don't
say
do
as well,
Sorry,
we've got some
Nardi.
ladies. Peterborough as well. Peterborough chairman has officially confirmed that Ronnie Edwards, the very promising English centre-back, who's been wanted by West Ham, Crystal Palace, and everybody like that, he's 100% staying. So Ronnie Edwards, who's been linked to Premier League clubs and Championship clubs, is staying at Peterborough. That's confirmed now. But like I say, confirming, we need to stop being careful when we use these words, confirmed. But is Ronnie staying at the club? 100%. That's from the Peterborough owner.
Right. So, just to clarify, we don't have Clark Harris news yet,
We don't.
Charlie. However, we are led to believe that that is something that is ongoing from a Bristol Rovers perspective. Put him aside for a moment, if you may. Elsewhere, business has been fantastic in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, been very confident. Obviously, bit of a weird start. You know, we played pretty well against you. Should have beat Barnsley. If we had Clark Harris that game, he would have scored a hat trick because Marquis should have had 3 or 4. He didn't. But yeah, overall, really happy. Some good loan signings. Ryan Woods the other day from Hull City, mainly been a Championship player. Bogart's come back to us. We had him last season. Matt Cox, England under-20 keeper, in on loan. You know, James Wilson on a free, won the league last year at Plymouth. Luke Thomas on a free. Giovanni Brown, I know there's the mad stuff about that, but, you know, as a player, he's quality. And yeah, there's plenty more. I can't really remember. We've made 12 signings so far.
Charlie, I'm so sorry to cut across you, but we do have some news, and it's not going to be very happy for Taylor, I'm afraid. This is official. Last couple of seconds, Liam Kitching has joined Coventry City. I've just seen that flash up on the screen. So we'll be back with you in a moment, just for Johnson Clark Harris chat. But I'll just read the statement. Barnsley Football Club can confirm the departure of Liam Kitching to Coventry on a permanent deal for an undisclosed fee. Kitching said, "I'm excited to have the opportunity to play in the Championship this season. The heartbreak of losing at Wembley is one of the hardest moments of my life, but the way the Barnsley supporters backed us is something I'll never forget. I'd like to say thank you for all the memories, which will stay with me forever. The club will always be in my heart. I leave the team in a good place, and I'm confident with the current squad and coaching staff, the club will have a positive season. You Reds." Taylor, what's your immediate thoughts on that one, mate? And Lincoln City, oh my word, it's all happening with 10 minutes to go, isn't it? Your immediate thoughts on that one, Taylor. We'll get back to Johnson Clark Harris. We'll get back to Lincoln. Ben, get Jakey on the phone if we can. Get him on.
Can we get him on?
Ring him.
Get him on the phone. Mute yourself if you can, because he'll probably say something that's not broadcastable here across the Jack Ward Football Podcast and Fournilwrittenalloverit. Taylor, tough to take that one, mate, because he's a real standout player for you boys, isn't he? Or was? What's your feeling at the moment?
This is great. Someone's on the phone. This is
Yeah.
amazing.
It's always tough to take. We've had him a few seasons now. He signed a contract extension about a year ago, so he's still technically got like 4 years left on his contract.
Wow.
There's been rumours that he's been leaving all summer. Obviously played pre-season, played every single game this season except the one against Wigan because he was injured. 4 million was turned down earlier on today / yesterday, so obviously we know it's going to be a bit more than that, maybe 4.5 mil. Personally, it's a great fee, and I don't personally think he's worth anywhere near that, to be honest. He's a good player, but not anywhere near 5 mil, so I'll take it. I don't think we'll reinvest it, to be honest, but if we do, it could be massive, but if not, it's a very, very big player loss, especially with how good he was last year and how much he can bring in, because at the moment, he's going to be replaced by a few non-league players based on what we've got at centre-back, so a very tough one to take.
Thanks, Taylor. Ben, update on Jake. Is he available?
Is that
What's
it?
going on? I'm just intrigued by this. I'm intrigued by the different clubs and on the
he's
phone,
out for
really.
Count. He's out for count, but apparently it's Kieran Sadler who's just been released by Bolton.
Okay.
So that's what he said. But this is the same guy that said Matt Bonner was the next Rotherham United manager after doing the playoffs last year. He went on and got about 22 points in the last 35 games. So he's not exact. He's a bit like Alan Nixon. He gets like 1 in 10.
Taylor, are you frustrated that this deal has taken not even this long, but it's this late that you now can't spend that money and replace it? Because £5 million, if it is that reported fee. Sorry, I interrupted you earlier, by the way. That's not me. I'm not bored of the conversation. I was just intrigued to see if Ben has got on the phone to Jake. But I would say £5 million for a player that, look, again, he wasn't fantastic and hasn't had the best start to the season, but it's still a large chunk of money for a League One football club. You said there, replacing them with non-league centre-backs. I would be absolutely fuming as a football fan. That happened at 5 minutes to 11. So it is pretty much impossible unless you've got them all lined up. But 5 minutes to 11, you can't spend that money, and you are desperate for a centre-back and desperate for reinforcements across the football pitch.
Yeah, it's obviously frustrating. To be fair to them, I think they did offer like 2 million a few weeks back, or about a month back, or however long ago. So they have held out, and when they rejected 4 million, I thought, oh, fair play, because we're not usually a club that says no to bids. Once we get a bid in, we usually roll over, take the cash, give them player on the way. So to reject the first bid, I was pretty impressed with that. But obviously now we have got a bit more dosh for him, which is great. But like you say, 5 minutes to 11, and as a club, we can't act that fast. Not many clubs can. So it's a good hefty chunk of money, but no time to spend. So obviously I'm fuming, but it's the Barnsley way. We sign, we improve players, and we sell them. I'm just used to it by now.
Frustrating.
I feel for you massively. I really do. That is a real. I mean, and would you say, and sorry to rub salt into the wound even more, but would you say that the loss of Kitching would have a direct impact on your outcome for this season? Is it that much of a big deal to you boys, you think?
Yeah, well, if you look at overall, he got named. Well, he had the captain's armband for a few games. So since the end of last season, we've lost obviously last year's captain Anderson, and we've lost this year's captain Kitching. So and then you look at obviously we played with a back three and a goalkeeper. Obviously, a goalkeeper on loan, and then we've lost Kitching, we've lost Anderson, and Bobby Thomas went back on loan. So the whole back four triangle that we had last year is completely gone, and the only one we had holding it together with Kitching, who was, even though he's not that old, he was the role model because he obviously had such a successful campaign last year. So it's a massive, massive loss and a massive hole in that centre back line now, definitely.
We'll, if we may, Wardy, we'll come back to the chat with Taylor later on. So I think there's so much fat to chew with Barnsley at the moment.
Charlie, I reckon.
Yeah, we've got there's an exclusive from Dan Hargreaves that's posted in the last sort of 5-10 minutes.
Just read that now.
He said Bristol Rovers have agreed a club record fee to re-sign striker Johnson Clark-Harris from Peterborough United. We're understanding the sum is in the region of 800,000 plus add-ons. The deal is not done yet as the transfer deadline approaches. Obviously, we're talking if buts and maybe still, Charlie, but this has been something that's been rumbling on for a couple of days, and I'm sure that Adam will tell us that it was of Derby County's interest. We're led to believe at some point, and then that obviously turned out to not be the case. You must be a happy man right now. Perhaps you could even maybe talk us through the impact he had on your club when he was last there for his first spell, and what Bristol Rovers fans can expect from him this time round.
Yeah, the first time before we signed him, he'd not hit over 9 goals, I think, in a season. And since he joined us, he was with us for, I think, about a year, just over a year. I think year and a bit, and he got 27 goals in 52 games for us. And we signed him for such a small fee from Coventry. And then obviously we sold him. I think at the time it's 1.2 million. Maybe rising more, but like you just said, then it's to believed 800,000 plus. Obviously, we've got the sell-on clause in there, which was 20%. So I don't know if that has any impact. Apparently, they owed. I was watching earlier, and I heard Napa saying about it, that they were. I think they still owe us money from with bonuses the last time. I think, or something like that, but. Yeah, it's just been a crazy day. I've heard so many things over the last few days. I had Jake on last night doing the preview with him, and he was like, "Oh, are you going to sign him?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty 90% confident." And now, obviously until it's announced on the the Rovers website, then obviously, but it's looking good. But he was amazing. I mean, since he's left us, he's got nearly 80 goals in 3 seasons, which is outstanding. I think he got 26 last year, 12 in the Championship with Peterborough, and then 31 the year before in League One. So, and that's what we need, because we've got in every position, I would say we've had a very, very good window up there with one of the best. But now all the pressure is on Barton because he's been backed massively. Because you look at the Clark Harris fee, but then you also look at Connor Taylor, who we signed for around 300,000, and that's, Rovers have our record transfer, I think, is 390,000, which was back in about 30 years ago. So it's crazy.
Add a little bit more detail to this, and the boys who are all League One fans, I'm looking for the reaction to your faces when I'm about to say this. It's been reported that Clark Harris has travelled by taxi from Posh's Hotel in Portsmouth tonight, where they're staying prior to their League One fixture against us tomorrow, in order to undergo this medical in time for the 11 o'clock deadline. So that's quite... Sorry, what?
So obviously, I get why he's gone to Bristol Rovers. I totally get that. But I look at, obviously, Derby County have sorted their striker issues, and you can keep saying, what about this football club? Why haven't you gone to this football club? I'm very surprised Blackpool have had absolutely nothing to do with him, because they lost Jerry Yates. Shane Lavery is now injured for a number of games. Kyle Joseph, who they brought in, is out for 3 months. Jake Beasley, I'm going to be nice. He's not good enough in my eyes. He'll score you maybe 5 goals. They don't get goals from the wingers. They play a back three where they get a lot of cross into the box for a target man. Gary Medine obviously will sign a contract probably in January. He's still training with the football club. Do you have £2.5 million?
Sorry, by the way, Lincoln City, they didn't sign who we said they were going to sign.
Who did they sign?
They signed Jack Vale on loan from Blackburn.
Oh, fair enough. But
sorry, I was going to say that. Sadly, as you said, 1 in 3. He literally is not averaging 1 in 3.
Yeah, exactly. He's a chancer, that boy. I would have got used to, Charles. But as a Blackpool perspective, I'd be very, very angry and be asking Simon Sadler some real serious questions, because there's a lot going on in that football club that isn't quite right at this moment in time. And obviously, what Simon Sadler's done for that football club since the Oystons is very good. But some of the stuff that has gone on is very the Oyston-like system. Look, the club is run better, staff are treated better, payments are met, everything's much better. But in terms of transfers, requiring loans and frees, I think they could have done a lot better, Blackpool, there, really. And there should have been a bid for Johnson Clark Harris in my eyes. If I was Neil Critchley, I'd be fuming.
We've got some non-League One related news, but I think it's important that I kind of relay this to the rest of the gang. Mason Greenwood has made a move to Getafe, and I just saw that in the last couple of minutes. So a Spanish adventure for him. Obviously, all of the baggage and the whole story that comes around that one. Some people saying never to play football again in this country. Well, he's off on a European move and is looking for a fresh start. We also have the news that Brennan Johnson has completed a permanent transfer to Tottenham Hotspur this evening. That news coming fresh out of Nottingham Forest. Back to the League One scene. I don't know if we have
the window is shut, by the way, officially.
Yes, that's what we should say. I was about to say, yeah, it's so we have nothing as of bang on 11 o'clock with regards to Johnson Clark Harris, but obviously that's something that is fast paced and moving. Well, there we go. I don't know if we want to stick around for more news, Wardy, or I don't know if the rest of the gang have got anything else that we'd like to add to the conversation. Or
I would say, in terms of finishing it, we'll come to a decision in just a second, but we understand that the reason the Clark Harris doesn't have to be signed, of course, by 11 o'clock. The window's shut, but he can. We believe they get an extra hour, don't they? So they get until midnight to get the paperwork signed. So don't worry, he doesn't got to stop off at the petrol station for that taxi. I think he might be okay. He has still got officially got 57 minutes or so to get those documents
2.5 hours from Pompey to Bristol, though. So
I'm sure pen and paper in the
really close.
Has he got a pen and paper in the car? Has he got it in the taxi? That's what I want to know. Yeah, he's got to get everything sorted. I mean, Tom is hoping that taxi gets there, no problem at all. That breaks down. A little U-turn, he's starting tomorrow. So that'll be interesting. But I don't actually think either way, so you might be safe. I don't think after the saga of Clark Harris, you would play him tomorrow. I think the mindset of that player right now is a little bit all over the shop. But really interesting. I think what we've really seen from this is the League One and League Two and Championship. We've been covering League One. The EFL transfer deadline day has surprised me. I think when me and Tom decided to do this again, we were really intrigued to see what was going to happen. January sort of tends to be hectic with last minute deals. But I think this one has really surprised me in terms of how we've followed lots of stories, lots of sagas, and once again, Jake telling us he signed someone, then it turns out to be some random guy from Blackburn. But that's that's what happens. That's sort of welcome to the show.
Colby Bishop stays as well, which is massive news.
Brannigan doesn't get to Blackpool and turn around and feel like he wants to sign for Oxford. I mean, who else which other classic ones do we have?
Pete Odwing in his car.
Yeah,
exactly. So
and don't mention Matty Taylor. Although I heard Gab Sutton mention that earlier on.
Yes, no, he is also. He's now playing in League Two. I mean, also as well, Cashin does remain as a Derby County player after all of that.
Thoughts on that one, Adam?
I mean, thank God, pretty much. Thankfully, but whether he's here when it comes to January and something's not been agreed, but very relieved, very relieved.
Thank you, Matt, as well. Sorry to butt in there. Matt has got some news for us. Cheltenham confirm a late signing.
Yeah, we've bought in Malcolm on loan from West Brom. Yeah, another centre forward as well. That's how down bad we are when it comes to goals. I'll be honest. I actually have nothing for you about this guy. I don't know anything about him. I haven't had time to do any research, but he's here, and hopefully he knows where the net is, because clearly the rest of our team don't.
The more strikers you get, eventually you will score. That should be,
Mate, it's Charlton Town Football Club, honestly.
We can only hope. We will make the executive decision to say that this has been fantastic, and we'll sort of hope that for Charlie's sake and for everybody's sake that Clark Harris does become a Bristol Rovers. Hang on, what's Nappers?
Ben's pulled a face.
Ellis Harrison's gone to MK Dons apparently, so that's why they were signing Loft.
Right, okay, so that's the Port Vale Ellis Harrison.
It's a big loss, that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't think they've come out of that well.
I remember saying,
just to say on Loft, if there's any Port Vale fans watching, he puts the graft in, but I would say his touch is appalling. So from Ellis Harrison, and I mean, they're both completely different players. Obviously, Ellis was at us, but he'd done pretty well for Port Vale. But that's when I knew Clark Harris was, he's not signed yet, but was going to sign, because we had to offload Loft because we couldn't have Loft, Marquis, Collins, and Clark Harris. So that's why. But yeah, Loft, he's a decent player. He'll work hard, but his touch is one of the worst I've seen in football.
There you go then. So if anyone's
Can I just add one more thing? I know we all probably want to go, and we were going to do one more round the loop, I think. And
we've still got 200 people watching, by the way, 7 minutes after the deadline, which is just very, very impressive. These 200 people, go to bed, guys. You've got better things to do.
I was going to say, some of us have got to get up and go to Charlton in the morning, haven't we? So I
cannot. No Lynch. Brilliant. Can't wait. All the cards.
Before we get back around the group, we'll just have a closing word from everybody. I know it'd be interesting because we'll have kind of different perspectives on our own clubs' windows and maybe an overall view of the League One. As Wardy was just saying there, I think this is surprised me from the off, actually, as a League One window. I don't think I've seen, maybe I haven't looked into it as much in the past, but I don't think I've seen the movement, particularly in this division, over a course of a window
quite like this.
It's been absolutely remarkable, not just from a Pompey point of view. Oxford, obviously, loads to talk about. There's loads going on down at the Valley, of course, with Josh and even Cheltenham. And no disrespect, Matty, but you've been busy boys, and I wasn't expecting that. So it's great to see. And obviously Bristol Rovers and Fleetwood even made a couple of signings as well, or at least one, and maybe even a couple more. And Derby that speaks for itself. One more thing I will say on Ellis Harrison, I actually remember saying in my League One predictions video that I'd want to be adding another striker to the already existing Ellis Harrison and look to build from there as a Port Vale fan, or if I was a Port Vale fan. Surprisingly, that's now gone completely the other way, which as I'm completely with Nappers on that Port Vale are I wouldn't want to jump the gun with it, but I would have thought there's a bit of a questionable one there. Jack, well, we'll come back to you last, I suppose, and we'll close the show. Adam, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us tonight, mate. Obviously, all things go at Derby County. Looking forward to coming to see you in a couple of weeks as well. After tomorrow, that will be our next game because we don't have an international. We don't have a game because of the international break and a couple of call-ups. I don't know if you got one postponed next weekend as well.
Yeah, we've got Northampton postponed, so
Fine,
obviously after Bolton it is then Pompey.
We'll be
in League One next week.
Yeah, we'll be fresh and ready to go. Your final thoughts on the Derby transfer window and League One as a whole, Adam?
Pretty calm, pretty relaxed, but that could change if we lose at Bolton. Probably be pretty unhappy. But if we win, I'm absolutely fine with how we've been. Absolutely fine. Just depends how we do against Bolton. See how
Sorry, staying with the Charlton chat. Josh, what is that you're saying in the?
I've just seen a tweet from a Brighton journalist who is rated quite highly, saying there's a £3.6 million agreement between Brighton and Derby. Cash-in would have been loaned back until January.
Oh my God. That is Ryan Hardy. I mean, that is
in the same breath he goes pretty calm.
Wouldn't get too excited yet.
He didn't know it. You just heard agreed, and his face just crumbles like Fleetwood defence on a weekly basis.
Josh, can you tell us the name of the journo?
Charlie
or the account?
Turner. Oh no, ignore me.
No, look
ignore
at
me.
We've got
I just found his earlier tweet.
Toying with the.
Yeah, you
gave me an heart attack.
All right.
Oh,
I was about to say.
I've read two different tweets there.
Anyway, back to normality. That was a nice calm end to the window for you,
yeah. That was amazing. Nappers laugh as well. Nappers, that was an evil laugh.
Can I just say, by the way, that it's good to be in a position like Fleetwood where, bar Josh Hill, I'm not really bothered about any.
Jack Marriott, you were crying about Jack Marriott.
No. I was just wanting, I didn't want. It was just all the Oxford fans in my DMs going, he's coming. Your striker was like, and then I put the tweet out the other day of Scott Brown going, he's going nowhere. And I thought, if he leaves, my Twitter account will be absolutely spammed of EFL moments that led to unfortunate events. I was thinking, he can't go. And I was like, no, he's not going.
My other thing was if Scott Brown gets sacked and then he gets, he might have got away with it then. But anyway, all of that's irrelevant. Window's closed.
Charlie, any closing thoughts, mate? Obviously ongoing for you. We're not quite done yet, hopefully, from a Bristol Rovers perspective.
Yeah, hopefully that gets done to make it 13 signings, 8 permanent, 5 loans. And yeah, obviously he won't be playing tomorrow because of the 12 p.m. thing, midday in it. I don't think he can play.
Registration deadline is all about.
Which is annoying because that'll be a tough game against Jake's Lincoln at home. Especially after the last 2 shambles against Cambridge and Wickham. But yeah, we'll see. And then we got Cheltenham in the Pizza Cup on Tuesday, but again, same no game against Reading next week because of 3 international call-ups for us. So JCH. Hopefully it gets done, and we can announce promotion.
Wow.
Logan said, brilliant stream, guys. Thanks for the birthday shout out. See you tomorrow, Tom. Looking forward to it. Sue, our favourite Sue, said, fantastic stream as always. Great mix of guests. More T-Lop live, please. Sue, your wishes are command. We'll get more T-Lop lives organised.
Queen of T-Lop, of course.
For you, the Queen of T-Lop. Taylor's probably the least happy man on the stream right now, mate. It's been great to spend some time with you tonight. Put it this way, a little bit of positive news. I'm coming to see you in a couple of weeks. So how does that sound?
Yeah, that makes up for the shocking transfer window, I guess.
he looks over the moon, right? You're not worth 5 million, though, are you? You're not worth 5 million.
Some would say more. Some would say more than 5 mil.
Maybe. We'll have to wait and see.
Any closing words, mate? What would you? Well, it's probably a bad question to ask, isn't it?
Announce League 2 tour. That's what I'm saying.
Don't say that. To be honest with you, I don't really know what to say to that. So
there's nothing you can say.
Yeah, we should say as well.
7-0 on the opening day. That wasn't too long ago, was it? That's still something to. Or am I?
That was false hope, mate.
Okay, we've broken a Barnsley fan. I'm glad we've done that. I mean, that is...
sorry about that.
You broke me about a month ago, lad. Don't worry.
In fact, when we first started doing T-Lop, that was Ben all done. That was it, wasn't it? He was gone. Matty, you're a more happy man, mate, and I'm sure you're looking forward to the next couple of weeks now, looking to see some new faces bedding into your team and score some goals.
Well, we can hope it's going to be more positive, can't we? I think we've brought in the right faces to do so. But then again, I'm a Charlton Town fan. I'm used to players absolutely flopping here. And I mean, this season so far has been nothing but a flop. But hey, we live in hope, don't we? We live in hope. And hopefully these random young loanees that we've never seen before are going to turn into club legends. And we can sing E-I-E-I-E-I-O instead of we're going down. Because that's what it definitely feels like at the moment.
That's fantastic. And Josh will keep a keen eye on the Danny. Oh, and he's just got what a way to bow out of the show.
Mic drop.
That's it. Oh no, he's back. There he is. Josh, other than the Danny Cowley news, which we'll keep an eye on, or Michael Appleton or Lee Bowyer, whoever it ends up being, good window for Charlton. Anything to finally add, mate, before we go?
Just hope we finish a bit better than mid-table mediocrity again. That's the only thing, and hopefully these new signings kick on. And I think, I keep saying hopefully these guys aren't just panic buys on the last day, and because we need these areas filled in. And I think by the looks of things, they're not. So I'm hoping that we can get going after tomorrow.
Ben, I know you've got an early start in the morning, mate, so I won't keep you for too much longer. But thank you so much for being with us. Ben's been literally with us from minute one, and we're now 3 hours and 15 in. So you're a legend, mate, as you know, and I can't wait to film the T-Lot with you over the weekend.
Oh, looking forward to it, as always. Obviously, not about the result, but looking forward to it. And hopefully it's not a 9 o'clock job this week. But yeah, again, looking forward to it going into the international break as well, because what is it, 10 games off in Sky Bet League One next week. So a bit of a break for I think all of us, or most of us at least, next week.
Did we arrange a time for Sunday?
We haven't, because it's Jake's show and they're always disorganised. With mine, they're all done by Wednesday, because I'm like, well, at least that's
I still don't know which games we're doing.
Yeah, we don't know what games we're doing. We don't know what time we're recording, and I don't think he even knows he's hosting.
Other than that, should be a good episode on Monday. We'll find out. Absolutely. If there is one, then that's it. We shouldn't have this meeting now, should we?
It's the usual.
I'll finish up, and then Wardy can end the show, seeing as I started it. Thank you to you boys for all being with us. It's been fantastic. It's been great to hear whole spectrum of League One views, and to the boys that came on earlier. Gab played a massive part in this tonight. Hancock was fantastic. Obviously, my Pompey mates from earlier on, as brilliant as they are as always. Wardy, it's been amazing to share the screen with you as always, mate. Good fun tonight. Thank you to everyone. If you joined us from the very start, you're all absolute heroes. I don't know how you've done it, because we've barely done it. So if you're at home watching, then congratulations to you. But on minute 3 hours 16 and 3 hours 17, thank you for joining us. And Wardy, you have the closing word, mate.
Thank you all very much. I think we've had a great conversation. So many guests. Thank you everybody that's tuned in. Guests, viewers. I mean, we've had a great time. Had a great laugh. When we said we're doing it again, we said it had to be just as good as last time. We had so much fun. We brought it back, and I think, the last word I would say is see you January. That's what I'll say on that. See you January, because there could be a lot of where will we all be in January? Hopefully we'll all still be in League One. We can say that, but it'll be sort of which situation in League One. Anybody, good night. Good luck tomorrow, unless you are a Port Vale fan. Safe travels, everybody traveling to the away games. And we'll see you all very, very soon. Take care.